Ali, 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 yeah. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7.
Islamism without the schism. On a rise upon the 7, within the circle of justice, mercy, love, and right, the unbroken circle of justice, mercy, love, and right, and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Al-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere. And therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything, and I do mean everything, that our holy prophet brought to exhume us as a nation. But let us call forth our beloved goddess and queen, Sister Dendra Nia Curta Bay, that she may open up our hearts and minds, as she open up the way.
Islam, family. I am Dr. Dendra Nia Curta Bay, but first let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act 1. I give honors to all my government officials. I give honors to our national assistant grand chief, and I give honors to each and every one of you. Now, let us come forth with our ancient committee and adept Moorish American prayer. And as we come forth, we ask that you open up your hearts and your minds as we open up the way. Islam, Islam, Islam. Ya Allah Anu Haru Makunetaru. Ya Allah Erhet Haru. Ya Allah Ma'at Haru. Ya Allah Hotep Haru. Ya Allah Haru. Ya Allah Ma'at Herahuti. Ya Allah Awajet Jehuti. Ya Allah Per'im Saket Per'im Haru. Ya Allah Bamahuti. Hedget Sepsis Ray up to Ali. Amen. Aliisa, Aliisa, Aliisa. And that is to say in transliteration, family, O Allah, the Father of the universe. O Allah, the Father of love. O Allah, the Spirit of truth. O Allah, the Spirit of peace. O Allah, the Spirit of freedom. O Allah, the Spirit of justice. Oh Allah, you are my protector. Oh Allah, you are my guide. Oh Allah, you are my salvation by night and by day. Oh Allah, through your holy prophet. Oh Allah, Drew Ali. Amen. Holy Issa, Holy Issa, Holy Issa. Now let us come forward before you with our divine constitution of motion, miracle, salvation, our God, unity. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. The bylaws. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and a parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion to overthrow the laws and the constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and a parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folk, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali the Prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendant of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwest and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husbands, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah. Now that this meeting has been opened according to Act 2, the Circle 7, and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, we will call on our National Grand Secretary of State to read our chapter of the week. Islam.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Gratitude. First of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days and times, giving honor to our Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate class, giving honor to our scribes online. We want to give a special honor to our National Assistant Grand Secretary of State, Dr. Dendra Nia Kurtabay, for opening our meeting according to law, along with giving honor to our host instructor, our National Assistant Grand Sheik of Moorish America, Dr. Shadwa Menti El Mohedjed Shepsuel. This is Dr. Hatshepsut Tutankhamun Bey, National Grand Secretary of State. I'll be reading chapter 22, our subject chapter for the week. Welcome, family online. Meeting of the 7 sages to make laws for the coming age for the nations of the earth. Now, when the sages were refreshed, they opened up the book of life and read. They read the story of the life of man, of all his struggles, losses, and gains, and in the light of past events and needs, they saw what would be best for him in coming years. They knew the kind of law and precepts suited to his estate. They saw the highest Allah ideal that the race could comprehend. Upon the 7 postulates, these sages were to formulate the law of life of the coming age that souls may rest. Now, Einstein was the oldest sage. He took the chair of chief and said, "Man is not far enough advanced to live by faith. He cannot comprehend the things his eyes see not. He yet is child, and during all the coming age must be taught by pictures, symbols, rites, and forms. His God must be a human God. He cannot see Allah by faith, and he cannot rule himself. The king must rule, the man must serve. The age that follows this will be the age of man, the age of faith. In that blessed age, the human race will see without the aid of carnal eyes, will hear the soundless sound, will know the Spirit Allah. The age we enter is the preparation age, and all the schools must be designed in a simple way that men may comprehend. And man cannot originate. He builds by patterns that he can see. So in this council, we must carve out patterns for the coming age, and we must formulate the gnosis of the empire of the soul, which rests on 7. Each sage in turn shall form a postulate, and these shall be the basis of the creeds of men until the perfect age shall come. Then Meinstay wrote the first. All things are thought. All life is thought activity. The multitudes of beings are but phases of the one great thought made manifest. Lo, Allah is thought, and thought is Allah. Then Vidyapati wrote the second postulate. Eternal thought is one. In essence, it is 2. Intelligence and force. And when they breathe, a child is born. This child is love. And thus the triune Allah stands forth, whom men call Father, Mother, Son. This triune Allah is one, but like the one of light, in essence he is 7. And when the triune Allah breathes forth, lo, 7 spirits stand before his face. These are creative attributes. Men call them lesser gods, and in their image they made man. And Caspar wrote the third. Man was a thought of Allah formed in the image of the septonate, clothed in the substance of soul, and his desires were strong. He sought to manifest on every plane of life, and for himself he made a body of the ethers of the earthly forms, and so he descended to the plane of earth. In this descent, he lost his birthright, lost his harmony with Allah, made discordant all the notes of life. In harmony and evil are the same, so evil is the handiwork of man. Ashbina wrote the fourth. Seeds do not germinate in light. They do not grow until they find the soil and hide themselves away from light. Man was evolved a seed of everlasting life, but in the ethers of the triune Allah, the light was far too great for seeds to grow. And so man sought the soil of carnal life, and in the darksomeness of earth, he found a place where he could germinate and grow. The seed has taken root and grown full well. The tree of life is raising from the soil of earthly things, and under natural law is reaching up to perfect form. There are no supernatural acts of Allah to lift a man from carnal life to spirit blessedness. He grows as grows the plant, and in due time is perfected. The quality of soul that makes it possible for man to rise to spirit life is purity. Islam, Islam, Islam. And at this time, we want to turn the meeting back into the hands of our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shedawa Menti and Mohamed Shepsuel. Islam.
Islam. Can you hear me, Grand National Secretary of the State?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Gratitude. Islam, 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 ism without the schism. Having already risen, we continue to rise in ascension upon the seven, within the circle, the unbroken circle of justice, mercy, love, and right, and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Al-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution, and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything that our holy prophet brought to exhume us as a nation. Shemotepu Ankwajet Saner. I want to give honors to all of our family out there and say life, health, and prosperity be upon all of you who are within the sound of my voice. We have a grand drawing to bring on the manifest, and as we encourage our family, basically have your paper and pen on handy. Make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and also share the video if you are present, and encourage our other family to tune in so that they may be enlightened, and that we may also enter the algorithm so that the world as a whole may be able to see this information. We give out too much valuable information, more for it to be hidden, and a lot of this is by design. We really are only concerned with those, who truly want to learn anyway, but we most definitely want our people to be able to see what it is that we are giving them that they are not getting anywhere else. So we have revolutionized the approach when it comes to dealing with us, coming from a Moorish perspective, the way that our prophet, has set out. Many people may think that this is something that was just created by myself and the scribes. When we talk about our approach in the way that we view the Metu Netta, the language of God, in the way that we present it to the masses. But this is actually the way that it has been set out in the teachings that the prophet brought us. We understand that the neophyte, Yehoshua, when he was in the chambers, he was taught to meditate. In more than one of his particular brotherhood tests, when he was in the presence of the hieroglyphics, he was taught to think out the meaning. He didn't have a dictionary. He didn't have Champollion's methodology. He didn't have the modern Egyptologist, methodology. He was told to find himself by reflecting upon the symbols. In other words, the Hierophant was letting him know that in order for him to unlock his consciousness, these symbols had a bearing on that. And praise be to Allah, we are always coming forth with confirmation on the information that we present. And we can take our people further into what it is that we are giving them. So like I say, this is not our methodology in the sense that we created it and it was produced. We just shine light on what the prophet had already brought us. So for those who are thinking that this is something that we just produce, you got to go back and study what the prophet brought. And if I apologize if some of the chapters that these things are mentioned in are hidden from you because they are in separate books. from the Moorish Holy Quran, if you have the one that is mainstream in circulation, when you have the one that we have with 70 chapters, those portions that would have been called a red book are only for adepts. We give them to the public freely. Praise be to Allah, honors to his holy prophet, and, honors to our grand national chairman, for being truthful, and giving our people that in which is necessary, for them to really know themselves, and we can really see that our prophet was indeed an Egyptian adept master. Just like he said, we have the degrees, that our prophet went through. These degrees are out there in the public if you know what you're looking at. I mean, you can go right into African holistic health. And the degrees, the ancient Kemetic degrees that are mentioned in the Exhuman of the Nation are right there in the book of the African Holistic Health by Lelola Africa. You see? Now, there's a deeper aspect to this because we actually also have documentation of Yehoshua himself going through these degrees. I'm talking about in every aspect. So, the degrees that are mentioned that we have in our Moorish Holy Quran, they represent, we can say, the entry-level aspects, the brotherhood test that we have there. But then you have what you call the senior course. And so those 7 adept degrees, where the prophet received his degree of propheta, which is the 7th adept degree, also being synonymous with that of the name that Yusuf, Asaph, as they call him, was given, by the Pharaoh. It really wasn't a name, it was a degree that was being conferred upon him. The degree of propheta. And that degree was conferred upon Yusuf or Joseph because of his ability to interpret things. He was able to interpret dreams and so forth and so on. He didn't have Champollion's methodology. The Champollion didn't exist during that time. He didn't have any alphabet chart that was created by modern Egyptologists because these things didn't exist during that point. Now, all of this has been put out there for peer review, in dialogue, debate, or whatever you want to call it. And ain't nobody, and I told them, I said, y'all give you 3 years and I guarantee you don't find a chart that was created by the ancient Egyptian prior to the one created by Champollion. But nevertheless, Joseph was given that title, Zephaniah-Peneth, which is actually featured in our Egyptian adept ensign, the one that you see right here on the screen here in the middle, above the prophet where he's standing, before the pool of water. You would see Sefek Pinkaru, which is actually circle 7. So nobody can really draw from, the etymology of Zephaniah-Peneth. They can only say it wasn't no Hebrew word, so it must have been Egyptian. But upon investigation, when I started doing research on the word, it went back to being, a corruption again of Sefek Pinkaru. Zephaniah-Peneth is the same as meant to be Zephaniah Pinkaru. In other words, in one aspect, we can even say Shanusafet, the circle 7. So Joseph was given a name that really means the circle 7, right there in your Piscean records. And this is definitely over the heads of all of those who ain't did the research. I ain't telling you something that I'm saying. I got videos out there where I done talked about this. He was given this name by the Hierophant, the Pharaoh, who gave him, a signet ring and what most people in the modern time would call a neck order, a necklace, that was a representation of his obtaining that degree that was conferred upon him. So Joseph, again, had the ability to interpret. So in other words, he didn't use an alphabet chart when it came to interpreting the dreams, a symbolism upon the walls of Kemet. He demonstrated this measure straight from the dome. You see? And so when we talk about Medu Netta and metaphysical language of ancient Kemetic words of power, and we look at that coming from, Joseph being in Kemet, we go into also Musa himself being evident of what we see now in Sarabat al-Qadim, what was evolved out of that language, the symbology that is there. We touched on this in many occasions because we know the Hebrews created, an alphabet during that time of Moses. But then when we go into also the last of the Egyptian priests prior to Champollion, and many have been given the title of Egyptian priests, that were closer to our time, even though this was prior to the 19th century. When you speak of Pope Clement of Alexandria, and a few more of them, most definitely Horapollo is the most important because he is the last link in the chain of Egyptian priests, and he too taught that these things, just like Pope Clement of Alexandria, they both taught about the metaphysical language of ancient Kemet. So we're dealing with ancient Kemetic words of power, and this is a powerful demonstration because also we will be going into some modern works, and we're going to draw from those today, in our presentation that we have to give to our family. And in fact, we finna share the screen in a minute. Like I said, be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe. We always giving you information and confirmation of what it is that we talking about. We don't come from a level of confirmation bias. We're giving you information. Now, what you do with that information is on you. But I can guarantee you that we can stand on everything it is that we bring to the manifest. So we want to give honors to our audience, the faithful for showing up. Tyree Bay, Cena Renee, Maadi Bay, Born Dog. Honors to all of you. Again, be sure to share this video because we ain't never got up here, and just talked out the side of our neck. Y'all know when we coming with receipts. And ain't nobody been able to rebut the receipts because in most cases we got primary sources. Oh my goodness, don't even talk about primary sources. It's so serious that ones don't even want to have this discussion because this discussion, in the public forum, before the masses will bring a death blow, to those who are out here fleecing our people and telling them that Champollion's methodology is the original methodology of the ancestors. But I know that some of you who have been here, you know better now. We ain't even got to go into it because we done showed it. We done showed you that language of the ancient Kemites is the Medu and Kemet, the language of the Egyptians. And when you're dealing with Medu Netta is more sophisticated than being just the language of a people because Medu Netta is referred to as the language of God or the language of the gods. You see, these are the words, of God. And that's much more elevated than just the language of the people. And it doesn't take anything away from the language of the people because through the language of the people, we are able to express the language of God. But Medu Netta being the language of God is not as we are speaking now. Medu Netta being the language of God is not as we write in our particular language. This is why you find Medu Netta engraved in most cases. They use the term engraved, but the real expression is holy impressions. because we tell you that the methodology really was impressions in stone, wet mud, so to speak. It would take forever for somebody to carve and chisel out of dry stone. So we know the methodology was nothing more than impressions. But the impressions had to be formed, and this is why they are so perfect. Our ancestors formed the instruments to make the impressions in the wet stone, and then this is how these things were placed on monuments. You see, can't nobody debate that. And we can tell by the perfection, and how many times they were able to use these things in a repetitive manner, because they wouldn't show up the same way every time if you had different scribes, chiseling, because everybody's skill ain't alike, unless you believe out of 30 scribes, all of them would chisel the exact same way. No, they had instruments of impression. But that's a whole nother measure. And this is why we tell our people, we joke about it all the time. I mean, what do you think they were speaking by means of impression? You know how long that would be to talk to somebody? All day, you impressions. You demonstrating impressions. Stamping it in wet mud to communicate, because you couldn't impress it in the memory. You see? Unless one did deep studying and contemplated upon them, then you can store something up there in your library archives of wisdom, the one above your neck, the one that can't be burned down like they burned the Library of Alexandria, the one that can't be destroyed and pillaged, unless you believe, that the European power extend beyond the great God Allah within you, and that's another story. But let me get into our presentation and our source material, because we got a little ground to cover and want to make sure that we get all of this information to our people, in a productive manner. So what I'm going to do right now, let's see here. I'm going to open up to show y'all where we are coming from, the materials that we're coming from. And I'm going to go ahead and do this as an entire screen. That way I don't have to go back and forth with this. And let's see, share entire screen. Yeah, we got that. We'll put the audio on there just in case we want to use that too. So our first measure is here. Let me know if you can see this image, family.
Yes, sir.
Okay, gratitude. And we know all our scribes pretty much have these books. At least I know this one right here. And this one is the hieroglyphic words of power. Now we showed you, that Mustafa Gadala, is really our primary go-to, because he's native Egyptian born, and he was the one that drew from what it is that we already had researched. Is dealing with the works of Horapollo. A lot of his works are influenced by Horapollo, so it's in the lineage that we mentioned earlier when it comes to dealing with the way that we deal with what we bring forth, because that's the same methodology that was mentioned, in our Moorish Holy Quran, contemplating upon the symbols. In many places will speak on Allah creating, things and bringing forth that which we are able to see the inimitable perfections of his work by looking at the omnipotence that's displayed before us. Many, even in the chapter that we had, we hear about, man learning by rites, pictures, rites, in ceremonies and so forth and so on. Remember, when we deal with what we call Medu, or what some of you know as hieroglyphic, we're talking about people, places, and things. So these are the words and the powers being expressed, and we're going to touch on a few, as we go further into this. But the hieroglyphic words of power, is where we'll be coming from with some of the source material that we have here. We already have strong biking and the other stuff we presented, so we ain't even going back and forth with that. We're just showing you that there are other people who are up on this same thing that we've been talking about. So in this book, they speak on the symbols, the words of power as symbols for what they call magic. We know the word magic is a translation from Heka. You know, we don't want you to get into the hocus pocus, and they make clear that this ain't got nothing to do with the hocus pocus, you know, and the stuff that you think is magic. It ain't got nothing to do with no root work, black magic, and witchery, Wiccan. They ain't talking about that, and they make that plain in this work here. So don't get no bright ideas for the ones that like to deal in that type of stuff. I'm sorry, it's not talking about that. We just letting you know before we go into it. You know, divination and dream work, you know. And so this is more similar to actually going into what we were speaking of Joseph being a hierophant. You know, I have works that call him, you know, an adept, an Egyptian adept. You know, Joseph is referred to as a hierophant. You know, this is third heaven adept. You know, so this is one source that we'll be coming from. And our other piece is this one. They also, and this is called Hermetic magic. And this is also edited and introduced by Stephanie Edric Flowers, PhD. The other one was Normandy Ellis, by the way, the author of that one. And this is actually dealing with postmodern magical papyri of Abaris, you know, or Abaris, so to speak. You know, and you can see the sigil right here, which is similar to really our four quadrants, or the Coptic cross, as some people like to call it. You can see a symbol that looks like the boat of Ra beneath it. So this would be really a symbolic sun to a certain degree. But nevertheless, you know, this book, we drawed a few pages out of it to show you where the Hermetic tradition come from. The Hermetic tradition, as they speak of it, is nothing more than teachings that were taken out of Kemet, unbeknownst to many, by those who, you know, were considered Hellenistic Jews. You know, if you look at the material of Hellenistic Jews, a lot of it has a lot of Egyptian lore, you know, and mythology, a mythos that is actually interwoven into a lot of those teachings. So if you ever read certain materials, you can see how the so-called Jews, you know, Hebrews or whatever you want to call them, you can see how they were influenced by Kemet when they were in Kemet. There was a group of people who were grateful to receive the teaching that they received. And we see the overlap of this when we go into Isaiah 19. It tells you, you know, that 5 nations will speak the language of Canaan, the Canaanites, you know, and it talks about Egypt being the people of the great God, and it speaks of, you know, the people of Israel being his inheritance, and they was the third mention. It was the Egyptians mentioned, the Assyrians, and the Israelites. And in fact, these contributed a lot to what we're going to go into today, because we're going to be dealing with what is called by many gematria, but it's really called Kemetria. We know the G is interchangeable with the K, so it's really Kemetria. You know, that's the proper terminology to use. We've been using gematria, but it's Kemetria. You know, and we'll get into that in a minute, and you will see that this is the Kemetic influence upon many different cultures. You know, that's what this book, it actually gives the origins, you know, on what they call magic, but it's really, again, Heka, you know, and where this stuff come from. and it's really rooted in numerology. It's rooted in Kabbalah. It's rooted in the Zohar, of the modern Jew. These are their mystical texts. But these mystical texts, as we can prove, they actually came from a Kemetic influence. And like I said, this came, mostly under, the Hellenized Jews, and when we say Hermetic, there's also a tradition that went into the Greco-Roman culture as well. So Kemet has influenced every civilization. So we are going to show you that a lot of teachings, for example, even teachings that deal with the concepts of the chakras, Kabbalah, the tree of life, these things, contrary to the popular belief, they didn't exist, of their own. Prior to their existence, they actually existed in Kemet. Even though it wasn't called necessarily Kabbalah in the Kemetic language, that tree of life was actually present in ancient Kemet. The source materials for the symbolism and the ensigns, was present in ancient Kemet before it was ever called Kabbalah, in the Hebrew language. So this is why there's also an illusion, alluding to, so to speak, what is called the Kemetic Kabbalah. You see, a lot of this goes into oral traditions, and you have to be able to see the keys. And it's a reason why these things were hidden from the masses, but in plain sight. Because, like the prophet say, if he wake you up all up, you'll tear up something. So this is very serious information. This information is not something to be played with. And that's why the Hierophants didn't teach certain things to the public, because, a lot of things could bring harm to people, if they indulge in it with bad intention. And that's one thing that's mentioned in both of these books. So let me go here. First thing we want to touch on before we go into anything, I want to get into a definition, and we're going to touch on this later on down the line. And this is actually what is called stoicheion in the Greek language. Stoicheion, is a reference to, esoteric interpretation or hermeneutics, which is an exegesis, a hermetic exegesis, or we can say a Kemetic exegesis. Stoicheion, this word here, they use it in many different ways, but we can see it has so many meanings. It deals with the form of a sundial in one case. Let me get that out there. It can deal with, in basic aspect, it actually means elements. It's a simple sound of speech to a certain degree as the first component of a syllable. It deals with the elements of proof, the elementary or fundamental principle. In most cases in the esoteric circles, though, this is really talking about, let me do that there so I can get this out of the way. This is dealing with many different expressions, family, stoicheion. And I'm gonna go a little further. It also deals with apocalyptic, degrees of language. But look, if you go into the Bible Hub, the word stoicheion is used, in the Bible when it speaks of the elemental things of the world, and it speaks of the elements of the world, the basic principles of the world, the elemental things. And this is in different books, Galatians 4:3. When it's speaking of the elementary principles of the world, this is talking about the building blocks of creation, basically. Over here, it tells you also it represents a part of speech, a noun, or what is called a neuter. It's not strange that a nature represent a noun, which are people, places, and things. So when we get into the concept of stoicheion, and we deal with, the definition being element, principle, or rudiment, look at what it says, meaning, plural, heavenly bodies. Not just the heavenly bodies themselves, but the underlying principles of their creation and their essence. In ancient Kemet, did we not see certain heavenly bodies depicted as the Necher or the Necheru? A rudiment or element, the rudimentary principle, elementary rule. This is the basis. But it's going to get a little deeper in a minute when I get into these books that I talked about. But I got to go here to give you some background first. And then we're going to get into some excerpts from the works that we have in mind, because we're going somewhere with this. And we have actually demonstrated a lot of these principles before I even come into these books. I have works out there where I was working with these principles that they're talking about here based on mathematics. The stoicheion, the elemental principles that they're talking about is mathematics. I'm going to give that away right now. And we'll get into that in a minute. The language of God as it relates to the world deals with mathematics. Whether you're talking about geometry, whether you're talking about basic arithmetic, whether you're talking about multiplicity, addition, subtraction, whatever it is you want to talk about, division, the universe itself, and even your makeup is based on living mathematics. Our 5% family used to call them supreme, or still call them supreme mathematics. You see? So Allah's language is demonstrated in a mathematical way. You have to have this in mind. This is the rudimentary principle of stoicheion. Look, it says word origin from a derivative, stoico, meaning to proceed in a row, to march in order. Now, if that don't make you think about what we call a harmonic frequency, of numbers and letters, if that don't make you think about what we call a Fibonacci sequence, if that don't make you think of semiotics, and somatic expression, or many different aspects when it deals with shapes and structures, because we're talking about geometry as well. We're talking about math as it relates to the underlying principles of astronomy and astrology as well. When we talk about measuring cycle ages and so forth and so on. So it says corresponding Greek Hebrew entries where there is no direct Hebrew equivalent for stoicheion. The concept of basic principles or elements can be related to terms like Torah, H8451, for law or instruction, which represents foundational teachings in the Hebrew scripture. So we are talking about using God's language, which represents the true supreme law and instruction, and represent the foundational teachings, often hidden from the eyes of the public. And there actually is a Hebrew word that I would say is equivalent to it, and it actually would be olam, the same word equivalent to the Arabic word ilm, which means knowledge. In ancient Kemet, the Hebrew text, the word olam, which represent worlds, also represent hidden knowledge behind everything that is in creation, the underlying, what we call in ancient Kemet the underworld. As we told you, the underworld is not under the earth somewhere. The underworld represent what you can't see with the physical eye. The underworld exists within you, because you are more than what meets the eye. You see? In divine transformation. You're not a Decepticon by nature. Somebody taught you to be that. You know, so when we deal with the concept of looking beyond what you can see, there is a mathematical sequencing. We call it the God code, and we demonstrated that. We see that the God code, as it relates to the name of the supreme being, is found within your very DNA. It doesn't matter if you're Muslim. It doesn't matter if you're a Hebrew. It doesn't matter if you're a Moor. It doesn't matter if you're an atheist, a non-believer, whatever. No one, is left untouched. I can be found lacking when it comes to the God code being in your being. It's just an ignorance to deny what's inside of you, and your complete makeup. If you want to do that, then you do it. But I mean, you can't run from you. But anyway, it says in the New Testament, stoicheion is used for to refer to a basic principles or elements. So notice when you talk about elements, a lot of time when we come into this measure, we show our people, after we get the gematria or Kemetria, we take them to the element chart. And then, based upon that knowledge, we find out how we are able to find things that are useful when it comes to healing ourselves from certain ailments and all of that. And it ain't strange, because I had a brother, by the name of Brother Africa, who was taught, directly, by Auntie Afeni Shakur, may she rise in power, and Sister Asada. He was taught, by them. He was a part of the Panther Party back in the day, but he ended up becoming a student of the brother Wardeem Muhammad. He was the one that used to tell me, brother, you just like Ali, because I was so aggressive in my youth. He would get up frustrated, say, you just like Ali. And Ali is the cousin of Prophet Muhammad, that actually married Fatima, his daughter. But anyway, Ali was a swordsman. He was always ready to get on the front line and swing that scimitar. And that's why he said that about me. Praise be to Allah. Allah, brought me into a state of balance and peace now. And I still swing the scimitar, but I swing it from divine mind degree. You see? But Brother Africa used to tell me, he said, it's things in the Piscean records and in the Quran mathematically that if you learn, certain surahs and certain words, you can actually heal yourself from certain illnesses. And that always stuck in my mind, because he was a deep brother. He even talked to me about, how people tried to work certain things of black magic on him. And his experience of those types of things. He would get deep like that. So every teacher that I come into contact with, being under the feet, sitting at the feet of many different masters, they gave me something. Just as my brother Neketi Ayadin, that's in the palace of Saudi Arabia right now. He taught me about hermeneutics, exegesis, interpretation. And he introduced me to the teachings of Betty Uzum and Saeed Nursi, who is a grand when it talks about reading the book of creation, and so forth and so on. So all of that knowledge, I incorporate in this era and time. That's where a lot of my information come from, my experience of under these different teachings, and then coming to the culmination of the events, meeting my grand national chairman, that just put the icing on the angel food cake. And I ate it up. And it didn't make me ill neither, because it ain't got them things in it that we put, in certain things over here in the West. But anyway, so it says in the New Testament, stoicheion is used to refer to basic principles or elements. It can denote the fundamental components of the physical world. such as the elements of nature or the elementary teachings and principles of religious philosophical systems. So this word stoicheion, being a Greek word, it has a lot of let's say essence to it. The term is often used metaphorically to describe the basic rudimentary teachings that are foundational but not the ultimate goal of spiritual maturity. So we can see stoicheion represents that which is also dealing with metaphysics. You know, when you deal with a metaphysical explanation of the basic rudimentary teachings, rudimentary teachings. You know, in the Greco-Roman world, stoicheion was commonly used in philosophical contexts, here it is, to refer to the basic elements of the universe, such as the earth, water, air, and fire. In Jewish thought, it could also refer to the basic principles of Mosaic law. The term reflects a worldview that sought to understand the universe in terms of most fundamental components, whether physical or ideological. So we can already see how these words are now becoming expressed in nature. You see, we can see a physical expression and we can see an ideological, or what we call the highest Allah idea, you know, that the people can see as it relates to the attributes of God, manifesting itself in the rudimentary or the elemental expressions of creation. Stoicheion, look at what it says. It goes on. Because see, they even say in Hebrews, teach you the elementary principles. See, that's what we're doing right now. We're doing something that Champollion never did. The first principles of the oracles. What are the principles of the beginning? Now, that's a powerful demonstration in and of itself. You know, when we get into the concept of dealing with the principles of the beginning, man, this Stoicheion degree is something serious, Morris King. You know, this is something that we really have to pay attention to. You know, it don't get no plainer than the truth now. So when we go into the essence of this demonstration and we go into talking about the beginning, oh man, that's a powerful demonstration in and of itself. You know, and Heka has existed since the beginning when we go in ancient Kemetic, the words of power. You know, this is where we speak things into existence. We have the power to change our condition by the power of speech. I'm telling you, this is not some hocus pocus, abracadabra type of demonstration. You know, this really represents the science of calling things into being. We know that our words are powerful. We know that what we speak can change and alter a reality, be it, you know, in a good way or a bad way. In fact, if we understand the beginning of creation, dealing with the beginning, you know, coming from the hieroglyphic words of power, you know, Norman and Ellis touch on the book of knowing the creation of rock, you know, which is also Ray, which is called the Bremer-Rhine Papyrus. You know, and one chant line that's mentioned in this particular drawing, and it deals with a string of dung beetles. We know the dung beetle represents Kepra, you know, the creator, you know, and when chanted, there's a reading that states, Nukpu im Kepra, Kepri Kepru, Nukpu Imre. And the equivalent of this in the meaning is said, in the beginning, I became the becoming, being what I created. In the beginning, I became the becoming, being what I created. This go right back to the book of Genesis when it talk about that spirit of God moving upon the face of the waters, darkness upon the face of the deep. You see, this is why I told us last night, our people, that we took part in our own creation, right there in that book, when we talk about protoplasm. You know, that's the elemental state of being. So Stoicheion, you know, here and this is a measure dealing with world studies, it properly represents fundamentals like with the basic components of philosophy structure, figuratively, first principles like the basic fundamentals of Christianity, for example. Stoicheion refers to the rudiments which mankind were indoctrinated before the time of Christ. The elements of religious training, ceremonial precepts, common alike to the worship of the Jews and Gentiles. And it also deals with where it renders stoiche, as elemental spirits. And this is what we're getting at. So the mathematics behind the universe actually represent the universe of elemental spirits in action, spiritual powers, cosmic spirits. This is why if you look at the 22 alphabets in the Hebrew, they are seen, throughout the different branches of that tree of life, or the 10 Sephirot. They represent the stoicheion, or the elements. So in ancient Kemet, there would actually be Kemetic, principles. And a lot of time, this would be in the form of the Medu. These would be the stoicheion, or the elements in the Kemetic tree of life. You see, but it's not based on an alphabet as you see in the modern tree of life. It's based on the principle of the Neteru that are present. You can see that on my website, Mathino's Archive of Shehudi. So it says this views 4747 stoicheion elements as ancient astral beings associated with the very beginning and makeup of the earth. Goodness gracious. That's the most powerful statement that's been made since giving you the definition. So this is letting you know, this is not something I'm saying. This is in the Bible dictionary on social media. Bible Hub now. Remember, in the New Testament, they deal with the Greek language. So this word stoicheia, upon itself, again, these are spiritual power, cosmic spirits. This is the real language behind Medu. And what they are referring to as spiritual powers, cosmic spirits, or stoicheion and elements, are the ancient astral beings that are associated with the very beginning and make up on the earth. What are they doing talking about astral beings in the Piscean records? Huh? I thought that was demonology. Man, you Christian better start studying your Bible, and I don't mean that to be joking and mean to you. But those who claim that they are adepts, they know. Some of them just choose to hide this from you. So like I told you, see, a hierophant is a revealer of the light. Look the word hierophant. The very word of hierophant means one who reveals the mysteries, that which is hidden. So what we doing right now? So Hebrews, in the book of Hebrews, look, to teach you the elementary principles, be the first principles. What are the principles of the beginning? And then it goes into 2 Peter, and it shows you, the verses and everything. With the roar, and the elements will be destroyed, and the elements shall melt. With rust and noise will pass away element. Moreover, burning with heat. We can see that's talking about a destruction, of certain locations. Actually, it would be describing in most cases, the earth itself. But that's a whole nother measure. By burning, and elements will melt, and elements shall melt, will be dissolved, and the elements burning with heat shall melt. It goes on and on, family. There's a long tradition we can see when we deal with this stoicheia. One row, hence a letter of the alphabet. There it is. By the elements of knowledge. There it is. Elemental things, elemental principles, elementary, elements, principles. So when I tell you that the Neteru, are not gods in the sense of plurality where we worshiping many gods, but it represents the principles that are behind the creation a lot of this represents mathematical frequency, mathematical energy, mathematical principles. Look at it now. It goes further into the Greek lexicon. And a lot of this can be found in our Strong's dictionary that we have too, Morris. And then that give you a whole lot more information, a lot of time, longer definition. But notice it continues to harp upon a row, a rank, series, hence properly. So this is a sequence. Mathematics move in sequence. When you look at your DNA, strand, the helaxial ladder, it's moving in a sequence. The grid that you can't see with your physical eyes that is out here on the manifest, it's moving on a frequency in sequence. When seasons manifest, whether we know it or not, the seasons, fall, winter, spring, summer, and everything that they manifest come through based upon a divine frequency and a sequence. You see, all of this is backed by mathematical properties. Whether you want to deal with, geometry, whether you want to deal with algebra, whether you want to deal with any form now, that which belongs to any, that which is composed, hence any first thing from whence others belonging to some series or composite whole take their rise in element, first principle. Now we're getting into the term of atoms. Again, go back to protoplast. It means first formed man in its elemental state. So you were the one that was basically an entity, that was doing the math. They say do the math. We were doing the math, from the time that we were breathed forth with the 7 Elohim. The word denotes specifically. I got to make
Islam, Dr. Shaheed, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. Okay, I think he dropped off. And
Islam, Dr. Dendra, you got that Strong's dictionary?
yes, I'm trying to find that word he was talking about.
Yeah, that's on like page 1380.
30. Oh, it's in the Greek part.
Yeah, I just kept looking into
Yeah, I was looking in the Hebrew Arabic part. Okay, you say 1380.
page 1380.
Okay,
That's
almost
Greek dictionary.
there. Gratitude.
I think I'm gonna try to give him a call.
Yeah, let him know because I think he dropped off.
Yeah, he did, because we're only 3 that's showing on it right now.
Yeah, gratitude, man.
That's fine.
National Grand Secretary of State, you got your Strong's Concordance with you?
Not with me.
Oh, okay, gratitude. Yeah, like he says on page 1380.
It's on page 13A.
1380.
Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Get it. I'm running for it.
Take your time.
Yeah, that one he's got is a little different. Yeah, the concordance.
Okay.
You say what you say, Dr. Marvin Evans Bay?
Yeah, I'm saying like that one that he has is a little different from this Strong's expanded dictionary of Bible words.
Yeah, he pulling his up. That's that hub. You remember we used that before too.
Oh, that's online.
Yeah, he pulled his up online.
Okay, let me see. Oh yeah, the Bible hub, huh? Okay.
Yeah, under that Bible hub. Mm-hmm.
Let me see.
But you know we got the book, physical book too.
Right. Y'all didn't get in touch with what's his name? Tara.
I didn't. He didn't answer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's probably working. I think he work a lot.
Oh, okay. He's not.
I think he has his Bible hub. Okay, Stoic here.
Did you get him, Dr. Marvin Evans Bay?
Who Dr.
Shahi.
Oh no. It went to a voicemail.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to text him.
Oh yeah. All right. So we back on here. Yeah. This song, calm down, Brother Marvin Evans Bay. I'm here. So we give honors to you, grand man. We didn't even know that we was off of here. You know, how long have I been off here? Where I cut off at, Brother Marvin Evans Bay?
Islam. Well, when you cut off.
Are you there, grand man?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, you cut off. You've been off about like 5 minutes.
You left off fair.
Okay, and the last thing.
Role, rank, and series sequence. Okay. That's where you left off.
Okay.
Role, rank, and series sequence. That's where you left off.
Yeah. I mean, well, you know, y'all actually get the point, to be honest with you. I ain't even really got to go no more into that because I did that to death. You know, with all of the information dealing with Stoic Kion. So we unpacked a lot, Morris Ken. You know, we finna really get ready to go into our books. And we thank you, Marvin Evans Bay, for calling us, because I didn't know, but you got to look at it. This phone here that I got, I have to go through all type of codes just to answer it. So I got to go and unlock it when it's ringing. So that's why I wasn't able to get to you in time. So I called our Grand Secretary of the State to let y'all know. But we're going to go further into this measure here. This is very important. I see us up there rotating on the stream, y'all. And this is crazy because this internet here more is as stable can be. You know, it ain't no hiccups or nothing in this system. It's crazy that the whole thing just shut down like that. I ain't even know it, but we know Rome ain't built nothing to last, so we're going to carry on. So let me share my screen again. And we finna go into the actual books, because Stoic Kion is going to come later in the measure. But I want to try to unpack this, you know, properly in the time frame. And, you know, we'll go further into this when we hear from our scribes on the assignment that we put out. You know, we just really giving our family some background so that they have something to hold on to when we go into these special measures, you know, and they don't look at it like we just talking out the side of our necks. We showing them the truth. So you see what stoicheion means. We're going to get to that in a minute. But right now, I'm going to go into some of the excerpts that I have pulled from the works. And this is coming from the hieroglyphic words of power. This is dealing with the works of Normandy Ellis. And listen to what she says, because we're going to come from both books. And I'm going to try to read these things as fast as possible. It may go over a little bit in time, but that's all right. You know, for those who ain't got nothing to do, I'm always open. But anyway, use number magic to broaden your understanding of hieroglyphs. Listen to what she states. And y'all can see this that I'm sharing on the screen, right, Morris Ken?
No, sir.
Oh, you can't? Okay, let me go in here. I guess I'm gonna have to share this as an individual,
you're in that
because I
book.
shared it as entire screen. Yeah. Oh, so you seen it, Marvin? That was babe?
No. I got the book. But I'm saying where about?
You say I'm in the book. Did you see what I was sharing?
Nope, I didn't.
What page you on?
Okay. Well, I was trying to pull it up. I thought you was actually saying you seen it. You know,
No,
so
we got
no big deal. It's
No,
all
there's
right.
nothing there.
So let me pull this up, and I'm sharing. Yeah, I'm finna share it right now. You know, and once I share it, you all should see it, because I'm gonna do it a different way, because I see it ain't let me do it with the entire screen. So I'm gonna share it as a window, and you should see it. Okay. Let me do this too, because it's actually being hidden behind the panel. So now you can see it, right, Morris Ken?
Yes, sir.
long.
Okay, Islam. Praise be to Allah. Okay, so let me go into it then. So Islam, Brother Marvin, that was babe?
Islam, yeah, I know. Dr. Denver asked what page. I said 27.
Islam.
Okay,
That's
gratitude.
right. Okay. Now, gratitude. You know, and I got it all up here, so you know, we'll go into it. And some of the pages, you'll see it up there. Some of it was cropped out, you know, because I wanted to be quality. I didn't want certain things to be showing, because I had to take pictures of all of this. But anyway, it says use number magic to broaden your understanding of hieroglyphs. Around 520 BCE, Pythagoras, a young man from the Greek island of Samos, was mad for understanding the mysteries of the ancient world. He wandered Egypt for 22 years, determined to pry from the lips of his priests the secret magic of temples and hieroglyphs. His persistence eventually paid off. Through Pythagoras, some people say Pythagoras, you know, I don't care about saying it fancy, Pythagoras. Through Pythagoras, we moderns come to understand geometry and mathematics. That's the Romans. Our ancestors didn't learn no mathematics from Pythagoras. You know, they didn't learn no astronomy from him. In fact, Pythagoras learned this from Kemetic. It's telling you right here. But anyway, it says in the same ways that the ancient Egyptians did. It says Pythagoras wandered temple complexes in the land of Kem, staring at hieroglyphs that he could not yet read. In the hypostyle in Champollion wasn't around to teach him neither his methodology. But anyway, in the hypostyle halls, I just had to put that one in there, Morris again. He sat gazing up at what must have felt like the waters at the dawn of creation itself. Patterns on papyrus, column after papyrus column, repeated with slight variations, but the cosmic rhythm was apparent to his emotional body, if not yet to his mind. He gazed longingly upon the temples in the same way one might gaze upon the stars at night. You know, that sounds like the neophyte Yehoshua when he was told to contemplate upon the symbols. Pythagoras was trying to contemplate, but he wasn't from the bloodline, so he couldn't tap into it just like that. Noticing their eternal presence in their changing vibrations, he gazed agape at the hieroglyphs. He could not decipher. What am I seeing? So we know this is proof that it wasn't no alphabet chart out there on the manifest, because surely those who began to teach him would have gave him an alphabet chart and say, this is how you read right here. Take this, Pythagoras. But that didn't happen. I'm sorry, Morris Ken. What am I seeing? He wondered. The priests, it was said, often laughed at the traveler. So the Kemites were laughing, the Egyptian priests, the adept were laughing at Pythagoras. They laughed at him, as he stand wide-eyed and agog. After a time, they sent the foreigner away empty-handed. So they sent him on a runaround. When he begged to be taught how to read the hieroglyphs, they told him to go to this other temple of Thoth, Tehuti, in some far-off city, and study with those priests. So Pythagoras set out for a distant city of Hermopolis, one day finding Pythagoras wandering through their temple, again staring at hieroglyphs. The priests of Thoth told him to go to the temple of Amen. So he was redirected again. In Luxor, the Grand Lodge, yet at a further distance away, and study there. They ain't talking about no alphabet chart. They just sent him to these different places. It almost reminded me of Bruce Lee when he was trying to learn martial arts. And he kept being taught the basic principles of martial arts, like stretching and, the Buddhist principles. And it frustrated him because he wanted to learn how to kick some yes. He didn't want to go through all the extra curricular activity. Like some of our people, they don't like to go through the process. Everybody want to, see the baby, but they don't want nothing to do with the labor pain. But anyway, Pythagoras, let me blow this up a little bit, went from temple to temple and from priesthood to priesthood because he desperately wanted. This was his test. They want to see how really did he want to know it. Then, is he really worthy to know it? To know the meaning of these magical writings. Finally, the priests of Ptah in Memphis and Heliopolis were instructed by the pharaoh, Pert-Ah himself, Ramesu, to stop shuffling responsibility to another temple and just teach Pythagoras the meaning of the hieroglyphs. They didn't say teach him no alphabet. Teach him the meaning. Now listen to what it says. What Pythagoras learned, he learned mouth to ear. You ain't gonna find this in no papyri. At least not in the easy way. Because we had to learn the methodology ourselves dealing with the hieratic, on our own research, because we dug enough. But it says, what Pythagoras learned, he learned mouth to ear the way real initiates learn the mysteries. And that's even what the other books state. It said a lot of these mystery schools that have been created, by bare virtue of them being created, really don't qualify them to be true mystery teaching, because the real mysteries have always been passed down from mouth to ear. This is why it's a lot of conflict about the name El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali when it comes to the prophet being the Egyptian adept. Because those who have not come through the lineage, they didn't receive the oral tradition from the right source, because the people they learned from didn't have it. They can't teach you what they don't have. And this is what they're saying here. The true mystery schools ain't got nothing to do with a building that you go into. Ain't that what our chairman taught us? It's above your neck. But anyway, let me keep going. That is through oral transmission. The most important requirement of such teaching is being able to listen and to intuit. Champolian, where your alphabet chart at? None of these teachings were written down other than being represented by written hieroglyphs themselves. There was no alphabet chart. It was just people, places, and things, impressions in stone. Pythagoras himself, a teacher in the mystery schools of Greece, many years later taught his students by the way of oral tradition. Nothing of his teachings were written down. His philosophy survives because the students took notes, which were passed on. Some 30 years after his sojourn, Pythagoras taught the Hermetic principle, all is number. That's what we're talking about when we get into talking about that Stoicheion principle. He returned to the Greek island of Samos, where he had been born, and began his school of philosophy, cosmology, alchemy, astrology, music, harmony, geometry, and all of this, mathematics and mysticism, is found in Medu. So you can't limit Medu to 24 alphabets, and that's it. It's too much to unpack. What we
Yeah, you went out.
Dr. Shaheed, we can't hear you.
It looks like the call dropped, so we just waiting, family. Gratitude for your patience.
Islam, yeah. I was just wondering, does any of the Moors out there on online got that book? Can anyone communicate? Let me see. Let me do the chat.
Yeah, you had to go in the chat. Okay, too.
Okay, I got to connect to YouTube. I guess so. Good.
Well, the National Assistant Grand Sheik is making his way back.
Right. Islam. I guess National Grand Secretary of State, you can talk to the Moors.
I love you dearly, brother.
Islam, he'll be back on. You put it in the chat, Brother Marvin Evans, but you want to know some of our people out there had the book.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I got to connect to it first. You know what I mean? Got to connect to it. Let's see. She'll come up pretty soon. Continue.
You have to connect to something. Mine just
Yeah.
say.
Well, then you put it in.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know who will see it. What you want to know?
No, I'm saying like, okay, I'm like in there now. It's
Do anybody have the book?
That's what I was gonna say. There was something. You know what I mean? Because you got the book, you just begin reading it.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. Continue to read.
Let's see.
All right, so where we left off was page 28.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
He returned to the Greek island of Samos, where he'd been born, and began his school of philosophy, cosmology, alchemy, astrology, music, harmony, geometry, mathematics, and mysticism. What we know of Pythagorean temple teachings, we have read in the works of Plato, Aristotle, Diogenes, Porphyry, Iamblichus, pardon yourself if I'm not pronouncing this right, and others. And then the next paragraphs, and we've all heard of Plato, Aristotle, et cetera, and this is confirmation that they, in essence, got their teachings out of Kemet family. So when we look at the ancient Kabbalistic practice of converting words into numbers is demonstrated in particular in the book of Numbers, but also throughout the Hebrew scriptures. So now that's definitely interesting.
Yeah, because God is when they say particularly in the book of Numbers, I'm wondering, is they talking about the book of Numbers in the Bible?
Well, that's what I was looking at, because prior to that, he was speaking about Greco-Roman and also Jewish, etc. And you can find some of this in Genesis. You can go into these particular records and be able to get the formula, in essence, to hear yourself. I definitely went to the Pausean record as far as what they're talking about, the book of Numbers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But also throughout the Hebrew scriptures. Now, for me, when we get out class, we're going to have to do the research.
Yeah.
Once we get the foundation of this a special thing. That's why I did hesitate, because I'm learning as well, but we can still move forward.
Yeah, we can read.
I have a quick question.
What you say, God, man?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So you, I didn't see any thing last week. So you said you have some homework.
See, I heard that too, and I almost went into a heart attack degree. But we did not have any homework that I can recall.
No, he talking about the homework he gonna give us today.
Right.
Yeah, that's what he talking about. That's why I said, "Oh my goodness, I want to know all what he said because he gonna put something on us."
Yeah, well, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, I'm just saying because I know I got on there and then after about 30 minutes checking, I just forgot about it.
Yeah, we didn't have class last week.
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So I got my Bible.
got my Bible. I got to go run and get my
Numbers.
Bible.
Where's numbers?
Hold on, family. I got to go run and get mine.
I'm not running.
Yeah. Oh, numbers is up front. Okay, the fourth book of Moses called Numbers. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to read, continue with this paragraph while y'all get the book of Numbers. The chapters and verses of various books emphasize particular spiritual qualities. The use of recurring numbers as quantities also holds deep significance. For example, the 40 days and nights that Christ spent in the desert for 40 days and nights that Moses spent on Mount Sinai, and the 40 days Elijah fasted without food or water appear as signposts of each individual's initiation. Definitely food for thought. Good gracious. All right. Reoccurring numbers. All right, moving on. The number 40 becomes a numerical symbol of trial and testing. Okay. 40 refers to the manifestation of the enigmatic.
Can you hear me, Morris King?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Gratitude, Grand Secretary of the State. Praise be to Allah, Islamism without the schism. Boy, I tell you, goodness gracious. You know, Rome submit. You know, goodness gracious. You know, you mean y'all hate the truth that much?
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Yes.
And I'm talking to you wrong right now. Y'all hate the truth that much. You want to hide the truth that much to where you got to do the call. Like now, listen, subscribe. My TV, the internet working fine connected to my TV.
You can't banish the truth.
I don't think they hate the truth. They hate.
You can't banish it. It's gonna come back 7 times over.
Yeah. You gonna keep coming back. You can't get rid of us.
It's without the schism. But let me load my intellectual clip and max them out. Here we go right here again. We finna share the screen right now. We at war, people. We at war for the hearts and minds of our people right now. So y'all get it. We finna get it to you. We're gonna share the screen. Yeah, we ain't got no literal guns. We got intellectual guns.
Yeah, I was reading that God is
the greatest weapon of mass destruction is a Moorish mind. Give me 1 second here. Let me share the screen. I know I got to share the actual whatchamacallit. Give me a second here. Okay. And y'all let me know once it show up, Morris King. I'm looking at the buffering going on around the little duck on the tab. So they ain't done yet. Can y'all hear me clearly?
Prophet told us we can stop them from thinking, okay? Can stop the machinery too.
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm steady fussing.
That's right.
That's right. Again, man.
Okay.
God can continue to read then.
Praise be to Allah. Let me get this up here real quick. I'm just trying to get the pictures open. Because I got to pull the actual page back up. When it closed all of that down, and I'm just trying to get back to what I was reading from. And so we can get through it and get to the real aspect of the measure. So it's opening up right now. And I'm trying to get it to where I'm end up coming through it. Come on here. Okay. Give me a second. We almost there, Morris Ken. All right. Okay. Okay, here we go. I know I left off when I was talking about the Kemetic. All right, here we go here. Ain't that's where I cut off at, Morris Ken?
When you were speaking about the various schools.
That's a good spot to mention.
Yeah.
Because we already read it in the
All right.
Well, we need to go over that.
Yeah, Rome. I'm gonna stop picking at Champollion.
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop picking at Champollion, Rome. Y'all know I ain't gonna sugarcoat the truth. Pow.
No.
Where you gonna start, man?
Let's go up here. Yeah, we just gotta let them know we here. Go ahead. You say I left off when I was talking about Kemetic.
You see that paragraph that starts with "He returned to the Greek islands."
Yeah, right there.
Samos. Now I did read the midway the paragraph after that, but we need your guidance, okay?
Right. Because we got a
plane.
Okay, so we on page 20.
28.
We on page 28 then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, goodness gracious. I didn't even know I was off that long.
Yeah, you was
okay, all right. So let me go back on it. Let me open it up, Morris Ken. Yeah, they better stop playing with them people.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious, they better stop playing with these people. Internet now. This is everybody in the building. I ain't the only one here. Hold up. Here we go. Can y'all see that, Morris Ken?
No. Not it.
Waiting.
Hold up. Okay, let me see. Let me make sure I'm sharing it. I'm actually sharing it. Oh, I know what's going on. I got it blocked behind the panel.
We see
I got it blocked behind the panel, more. There it go, right there.
Okay, we see.
Yeah, that's it. I had it blocked behind the panel. That was my bad. Okay, here we go. So now that we have it back up here again, thank you for your patience. You see, they done knocked all the people off that was on here looking. You know what I mean? That's the whole goal. And them was climbing, y'all. Let's stop it. Hold up. Yes, sir. We gonna get it. They can go back and see the recording of it. But let me get back over here so I can get to read. So anyway, as it goes on, it says that he returned to the Greek island of Samos, where he had been born. And he began his school of philosophy, cosmology, alchemy, astrology, music, harmony, geometry, mathematics, and mysticism. What we know of the Pythagorean temple teachings, we have read in the works of Plato, Aristotle, Diogenes, Porphyry, and Blicchus, and others. The ancient Kabbalistic practice of converting words into numbers demonstrating a particular book, in the book of Numbers, but also through the Hebrew scriptures. The chapters and verses of various books emphasize particular spiritual qualities. The use of recurring numbers as quantities also holds deep significance. For example, the 40 days and nights that Christ spent in the desert, the 40 days and nights that Moses spent on Mount Sinai, the 40 days Elijah fasted without food and water appear signposts of each individual's initiation. The number 40 becomes a numerical symbol of trial and testing 40 refers to the manifestation of the enigmatic God principle. 0, as it enacts the foundation and formation of of matter and life experience. That's the line uniting divinity and matter Muslims. Gematria, as it was called, may actually be called Kemetic, right? The matter, hold up. Yeah, the matter of numbers that Jewish scholars learned from the Egyptians, very important. The word gematria itself indicates the origins of this mystical tradition. Came from Kim, or Gim, meaning the land of Egypt. Geometry, gematria, geometry and gematria are linked. Architecture and number, as demonstrated in the Egyptian temple structure, creates spiritual resonance through the use of proportion. Now, we talked about string theory, so to speak, the Fibonacci sequence. You know, this is talking about the resonance. This is talking about the frequency and vibration and so forth and so on. Although gematria has been attributed to the Assyrian, Babylonian, and Greek empires, remember we mentioned the Assyrians when we talked about Isaiah 19. Most likely, the study came from those Jews who lived in Egypt prior to the Great Diaspora. Now, we know that Mustafa Gadala
There you go again.
Man,
Yep.
oh, it was getting good.
I know. You talking about Mustafa Gadala, his connection. Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe we may have to listen to it on something else since they don't want us to get it out. And we get it and then come back and give it to them at a later date. Because I want this information. This thing get good.
Yeah, this is definitely powerful.
Yeah, this is powerful. And they keep cutting it off.
Paradigm shift. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's wrong. I know it's there.
That headset too. Yeah, you could probably it wouldn't hurt, in the void to continue to read from where you dropped off. I mean, I'm just saying. I know you don't like to
You can read.
suggest it. Oh, I don't have no problem with that.
I'm just messing with you.
But Dr. Hesepsu reads so eloquently, and I'm not just saying that.
Oh yes, she does.
Right?
Trying to give her a break.
It's a
Islam.
done.
I'm trying to explain something.
Islam Consul General, National Assistant Grand Sheik said, "Hold up a minute. He's trying to explain something to me. He's on the call. Gratitude, Moors, for your patience."
His
It's on Moorish Ken. All right. That our brother should be back.
Can y'all hear me on the panel?
Yes, sir.
All right. We got something for him this time, Morris Ken. If it drop, I'm gonna still be able to speak. You know, and because it ain't destroying the whole thing, it's just destroying my connection. You know, so we got something for him this time. Yes, sir. This a better game plan. So even if it shut down, y'all will still hear me. And if it go another route and shut the whole site down, then you know what's going. You already know what's going on anyway.
That's
but
right.
All is well. So when I left off, did I leave off on page 29 with you all? Or was I still on 28?
29.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So we're gonna pick back up from 29, and we won't have any interruption because you know we got a game plan now. So anyway, we're gonna start from the top. You know, and it states that the Jewish scholars learned from the Egyptians. The word gematria itself indicates the origins of this mystical tradition came from Kem, or Gem, meaning the land of Egypt. Geometry and gematria are linked. Architecture and number, as demonstrated in the Egyptian temple structure, create spiritual resonance through the use of proportion. Although gematria, let's see here. Hold up. Our Grand Secretary of the State says she was kicked off. You there, Grand Secretary of the State?
No, that was a previous text. All is well. Gratitude.
Okay. All is well. Yeah, it just popped up. Gratitude, Islam. Praise be to Allah. So yeah, anyway, you know, our brother Mustafa Gadala, he touched on this in his book, you know, dealing with the metaphysics or the metaphysical architecture language of ancient Kemet. You know, so architecture and number has demonstrated in the Egyptian temple structure creates spiritual resonance through the use of proportion. Although gematria has been attributed to the Assyrian, Babylonian, and Greek empires, most likely the study came from those who are Jews who lived in Egypt prior to the great diaspora, right? It says primarily, this means Moses, the reputed author of the Pentateuch, 5 books, who was raised the son of the Pharaoh and trained in the temple as an Egyptian initiate of the mysteries. That makes sense because we know that the Pharaoh was the only one that actually dealt with Medu and the priests. And the Pharaoh would pass this knowledge on to his son. We learned that through reading about the ancient Kemetic materials. This is why we know this wasn't taught to everybody. It says, when they left Egypt, the Jews and Moses took with them the temple wisdom of gematria and geometry. In the same way, the later Greek philosophers carried the Hermetic knowledge out of Egypt and copied it down in their history books. So for those who are trying to act as if Greek gave this teaching to our ancestors, you see it here saying, and this is a European woman too, by the way. In the same way, the later Greek philosophers carried the Hermetic knowledge out of Egypt and copied it down in their history books. Anytime they say Hermetic, a lot of that is dealing with knowledge that has been mixed with different culture, whether it be Hellenistic Jews or Greco-Romans. All of them took from Kemet. They borrowed from Kemet. So it says, one of the things that became apparent to me while working with the hieroglyphs is that each word has a power, an aspect, all its own. Each word now, which can be qualified by a number and placed in conjunction with the glyph. Those numbers can be acquired and applied in different ways. For example, if you are given a card reading to a person whose birthday you know, you can add the month and the day together to find their birth path, and then read the hieroglyph description with the birth path number, a number usually between 1 and 9. And they're going to go into those numbers in a minute. So it says how the ancient Egyptians used numbers. Let's look briefly at how the Egyptians used numerology. First, there was no zero per se. There was an aburus. That's the serpent that actually consumed its tail that you see in symbols. We even have a scimitar and star with that serpent around it. Horopalo actually gives an exegesis of this same serpent that bites the tail, which represents infinity. And they refer to it in Kemet as Mehen. A great serpent coiled into a circle. H.P. Blavatsky also took this symbol, and used it. And she received it from the Indus Kushites. But it says this serpent coiled into a circle which swallowed its tail. Meaning basically Mehen was the God force depicted as the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega of the Egyptian pantheon. It may be connected to the idea of creation, and the hieroglyph Nefer. Some Egyptologists believe the word Nefer means beautiful. It looks like an upside down penis or a cross surmounting a circle, the Ankh basically. During the 13th dynasty of the Middle Kingdom, the Neph hieroglyph was used as a zero in accounting sheets. However, one can argue that nothing can come from nothing. Nothing can come from nothing. And into that, hold on. Let me make sure I got the right one. Yeah. Nothing can come from nothing. Yeah. And into that zero is placed the tail of the serpent, or the numeral 1. The Neph works simply as a placeholder or an indication, that's all a zero is, of the next level to the number. In numerology, the number 10 is counted as 1 plus 0 equals 1. Make you think about the 101s, don't you? It says, so we are back to the original number 1. So they go into the numbers here. Mustafa Gadala has his own breakdown of these measures, but a lot of this is similar universally, not only in Mustafa Gadala's teaching, but the Kabbalah, even in, we'll see in the Greek Stoicheion, you'll see that they also are similar to this. There's a universal principle when it comes to these numbers. It's just the vessel that is being used to express the information. So number 1, all numbers and all spiritual matters derive from the unity of one, of God, supernal. The unity of one is perfect, eternal, undifferentiated consciousness. It is the thing itself. A single line between the sun discs becomes the name of the sun god Ra. or light itself, right? That's the number one. You know what it is, it equates to. Then we have the one and the other become the polarized energies of divinity. This is what we deal with duality, you know, and it states the law of polarity and the law of cause and effect. All things exist. It actually touch on this in our subject title. You know, not only is Allah one, but he is two. You see, because the same spirit of oneness, you know, is using the vessels, you know, of these special measures to come through. You know, two can actually be symbolic to one line. And looking at the spectrum of one end at the point to the other point, or the distance between the 2 points, and that's polarity, if you want to look at it that way. But anyway, the law of cause and effect. All things exist in pairs. See, this is what we come into the concept of truth and falsehood strangely mixed, being the man. There is no doorway through which to pass unless two pillars stand in opposition on either side to create the door frame. Duality combines the male and female, negative and positive, light and dark. All life, according to the mystical equations of thought, evolves from a divine pattern of opposites. See, a lot of this is getting into, you know, the 7 Hermetic principles, which we know a lot of that is dealing with a Greco-Roman expression. That's why it's called Hermetic. It's really Kemetic principles. Egypt was known as the true lands, the fertile black land of Osiris, Osar, and the red land, or the desert of Set. Heaven and earth are unified oppositions. Another way of saying that would be as above and so below. As within, so without. Life is impossible without the notion of duality. Two strands of the twisted chain of DNA combine in the same way that there are two sides to the ladder of heaven held up by Heru, or Horus, and Set, or Sutek, in the pyramid text. These paired opposites unite to create a deeper expanded consciousness. The mystery of Jeba, or twin souls, speaks of how the gods Osar and Ra combine in the underworld, in the psyche, and in the spiritual alchemy of life and death. Then they go into the number 3, as it represents the metaphysical role of the Trinity, and it's recognized in nearly every religion. Certainly, the Christian idea of Trinity is based in the Trinity of God, the goddess, in this case, the Virgin Mary and the Holy Child. Most commonly, the Egyptians honored that Trinity as Osar, or Set, and Heru. I'm saying Osiris, Isis, and Horus, but I'm saying it in a Kemetic way. But every ancient Egyptian theological center has its own Trinity. The spiritual relationship of love that occurs between masculine and feminine, or spirit and matter, reconciles, pardon self, let me go back, reconciles what exists in opposition. That is the creative force of the universe. Anytime a word is written to indicate its spiritual generative properties, its hieroglyph shows 3 seeds. For example, seeds next to the hieroglyphs of truth or ma'at mean that the truth is sometimes more than one thing. The 4 elements of air, fire, water, earth represent the foundation for understanding the cosmos. See, we're talking about that stoicheia, or the stoicheion, you know, the foundational rudimentary principles. In thoughts, or Tehudis, heavenly cauldron of creation, 4 principalities bubbled: infinite space, infinite time, infinite darkness, infinite light. Huhet, Kuket, you know, yeah, that's what they're talking about. In the physical world, they appeared as the 4 pillars that held up the sky in the 4 directions. This is where our quadratic circle come into being, and we're going to touch on that later. They represented the 4 sacred centers of spiritual life assimilated on earth, called the 4 sons of Heru. They were Happy, Hamadryas, Baboon,
Oh no, is he gone again? He's still up there. We can't hear nothing though.
But I'll keep reading. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Now,
Gratitude. Yes, sir. We're going to keep it moving. So I'm going to start back at point 5. So it says, all human beings exist simultaneously on earth and in the heaven as the 5-pointed star. Y'all know the book I'm coming from, audience. And I'll put it back up here once the signal rise again. I get back on the platform, but I'm still reading. You know, we ain't letting nothing hinder us. All human beings exist simultaneously on earth and in the heaven as the 5-pointed star. The soul in the belly of the sky goddess Nut. She and her husband, the earth god Kev, birthed 5 divine children. Asa, Heru, the elder Set, or Set Neptis. These 5 spirit children manifested in earthly form as deities and as the first earthly humans. 5 is the intermediary number between 1 and 9. And if you go and look at it, 5 is the intermediary number between 1 and 9. In fact, if you go in between these numbers, 1 and 9, and you deal with the 5, you can get 9, out of these degrees. It ain't strange. 8 and 1 is what? 9. You see? Then we move on, and we keep moving. 2 and 7 is what? 9. Right? Then we go over, and we go into 3 and 4 is what? 9. And then when you go into the 5 is right there. So 5 is the intermediary number that bring balance between 9, which really represents re-entry, a birth, and so forth and so on. That's a powerful degree. 5 was considered a number of destiny, for it was the idea of the realized man to become a star in the company of Ra. In hymn 467, the pyramid text of Unas, the soul returning to his heavenly home, proclaims, "Here I am, O Ra. I am a soul, a star of gold. The 5-pointed star of pinnacle warded off evil. The number 5 appears as our 5 fingers. Indeed, Pythagorean showed 1, the open palm of the hand, as a symbol of the power of 5 to ward off the evil eye. That's the same symbol that's used by Fatima, the daughter of Prophet Muhammad. The symbol of Fatima is a hand, and that hand basically represents a warding off of evil. There are no strange happenings, family. So, as we go on, we say, because of this importance, the pentad was used as a secret sign among the Pythagoreans, enabling them to distinguish themselves and recognize other members. So they recognized each other by the 5. Directly related to the geometrical importance of divine proportion and related to the value of pi. Pi was used to build the pyramids. The image of the pinnacle is found in the nature's leaves. It's 4 points at the base of the pyramid, and the last point is at the top. That's 5. You see what I'm saying? That's a powerful demonstration. Let's move to our next page. Okay. We're getting ready to come back on the actual panel too, Morris Ken. We're going to keep going on, but we can stop right there until we get back on real quick. In fact, it's already giving me the option to come in. So while that's loading up, I'm going to keep reading. So yeah, the pinnacle is found in nature's leaves. And this is what we call cymatic frequency. You can see the shapes of all different, objects when we deal with divine or sacred geometry, and everything in creation. That's a whole nother subject matter in and of itself, family. Dealing with the concept of sacred geometry, so that's a grand drawing. You know, that's a powerful measure.
Can y'all hear me on the panel more screen?
Islam, we can hear you now.
Okay. I'm back. Praise be to Allah. You know, and hold up. Yeah, we good now. So yeah, and getting our screen back up here. Yeah, this is I'm loving this. Yeah. So we're gonna be heard regardless of what. So anyway, it deal with, you know, leaves and flowers. You can see these symbols of sacred geometry there. The Greeks believe each point of the pentad represented an element, and the all-important fifth element, the idea. The sixth, you know, the cube became the model for time and space. A cube requires 6 directions: up and down, backward and forward, left and right. When pharaohs and their queens are shown as divine, they appear seated upon a cube that placed them squarely at the juncture of mind and matter. The temple in Egypt also viewed as a cube of space, which is a model of the universe. In addition, it says time is divided into quantities of 6. An hour is 60 minutes long. The minute is 60 seconds long. The union of spirit, which is 7. Spirit and matter, the uniting of spirit and matter, the line of divinity, 4 and 3. It's 7. We talked about that 7 last night. It's coming up everywhere. A pyramid sits on the ground with a square base, symbolizing 4 elements.
Dr. Shaheed.
Yeah, we hear Grand Secretary of State. It done dropped again, huh?
Yeah, can't hear you on the conference call. The panel side.
Okay, but I'm still on. Okay, it done dropped. I'm off of there all the way, right?
I still see you, the your name, and it's still showing the book, but I can't hear you.
Okay. So it just dropped. So I'm gonna keep going. Okay, you got me, old Grand Secretary of State.
Yes, sir.
All right. We ain't gonna even worry about getting back on there right now. We're gonna keep reading from your line until, toward the end, in the closing, as we getting ready to come to a close in a little bit. So it says the union of the spirit and matter. 3 and 4 and 7. A pyramid sits on the ground with a square base symbolizing the 4 elements. Its triangular sides symbolize the Trinity of Spirit. There are several chapels honoring the 7 deities in the Temple of Osiris and Abydos. There are 7 Pleiades, the 7 petals in Seshet's headdress. That's the wife of Tehuti. The 7 Hathors. The 7 Hathors are the musicians at the Temple of Auset, and the 5 fairy godmothers who attend every Egyptian birth. The 7 becomes idealized and represents perfected spiritual attainment in the Egyptian system. In her essay on Genesis and number, Lucy Lamy, the stepdaughter of alchemist R.A. Swallow Lebex, and the daughter of Egyptologist Isha Swallow Lebex, identifies the properties of numerical stanzas of the creation hymn, and our brother Mustafa Gadala speaks of the stanzas. That's where a lot of his numerical breakdowns come from. But the stanzas of creation hymn to Amen and our Medinet Habu, stanza 80 of Thoth's Tehuti's myth, it states, recounted in his temple, Hermopolis describes how the Aduad, or primary 8 divine essences, mysteriously came into existence. The text identifies the progenitor as Atum. It reads, first I was 1, and then I was 2, then I was 4, then I was 8, then I was 1 again. Powerful.
It says, this mantra was uttered in Tehuti's cauldron by the Actons. Those 8 pair gods and goddesses who represent darkness, time, space, and light. The number 8 provided the Egyptian magician with the magic and mystery necessary to create matter out of the cosmic spiritual substance. The 8 beings became the chain of DNA with its 4 pair of chromosomes. It emulates the way fertilized egg, or the fertilized egg, hold up. Pardon self, I went too far back then. Yeah, it imitates the way that the fertilized egg cells divides and multiplies to create life in the womb of the mother, just as it did in the great cauldron of Tahuti. It states, therefore 8 and luminescent on its side suggests eternity, secrecy, mystery, and incredible powers of organization. The Ened represents a family of 9 gods and goddesses who oversee life on earth. The identities of these deities sometimes vary, but they always represent the 3 trinities of creative gods and goddesses, and their offspring, for example, Nut, Geb, and Ra, Osiris, Isis, Heru, Set, Sutek, Nephthys, Anpu. The most popular representation of the Ennead begins with the god Atum, who is both male and female, and he becomes Shu and Tefnu, who are then joined by Geb and Nut, creating air, fire, earth, and water. There it is again, the Stoic Kion. It states these give rise to the 2 pairs, or Set, or Sar, Set, Nephthys. The 9 marks the transition from one scale of numbers to a higher scale of numbers, re-entry, using 2 digits beginning with 10. When the Holy Child Heru enters the picture after 9 months of gestation, right? And then it goes into use numerology as the ancient Egyptians did. You know, and it goes into numerology per se was never meant to be used to foretell the future, because time is always what is happening in the present. We got to learn how to live in the present. Don't worry about the past and the future. The law of cause and effect indicates that actions taken now determine what will be. So number magic provided more or less that a philosophical understanding of the meaning of a symbol and its varying influences on us in different times. Say, for example, you wish to quickly glimpse the particular energy of a particular day. You might determine the number of the month and the day, August the 27th, for instance. 8 plus 2 plus 7 equals 17, which is reduced to 8. Then drawing one hieroglyph, say Heka. You could look at the 8th point of interpretation and see August the 27th would be a marvelous day to use your Heka and your right ceremonies, form, or ritual. I'm putting that in there, you know, for a lack of better words, to restore the balance of heaven and earth by bringing peace to a different situation. The practice of compassion and forgiveness are advised. See pages 107 and 106 and 107. Another way to use the hieroglyphic gematria when reading for someone else is to determine a person's life path by adding up the numbers of the month and day of their birth. And note that only 1 month a day are used, not the birth year. For example, my birthday is September the 24th. My number, 9 plus 2 plus 4 equals 15. The number 15 is reduced to the final number. 1 plus 5 equals 6. Mustafa Gadala taught us this as well. No matter what card I draw from a deck, a stack of hieroglyphs, the 6th number will always be a reflection of the hieroglyph's energy for me. If I ask a question, such as, how do I gracefully move out of a restricted situation? And I draw to myself a blank papyri card. Then the answer lies in emptiness. I pause my mind blank. I sit, I wait for the first thought to arise. In emptiness of my mind, I see a bubble rise in the surface. I know that numerologically, 6 is about being in a relationship and also about healing oneself and others through the energy of spirit above and earth below. Imagine the 6-pointed star, Star of David. One triangle of healing points upward, while the other points downward. This is a perfect image of as above, so below. Being in the still point of that Star of David, between the 2 triangles, is standing within the chrysalis of energy, awaiting transformation. My intuition tells me then that I may want to pay attention to what my body needs to move out of the situation. A purge may be needed. I might, also need a return to a balance point with another individual. Blank suggests to me listening rather than acting. When you work with these hieroglyphs, ask yourself how this symbol and any associated number may be used to their highest capacity to increase the quality of your life journey. Conversely, how might this particular symbol and number negatively hold you back? Each individual hieroglyph has its own number, which is dependent on its spelling and which will open up a deeper understanding. I work with this information intuitively using the traditional spellings for hieroglyphic words, as well as offering some alternative spellings. The reason I alternately explored the Greek, Roman, and Old Kingdom, and sometimes New Kingdom spellings of the ancient words is because I believe language is fluid. Over time, environments change, and even commonly used words develop alternative definitions and meanings. Words with similarly intended meanings in different languages often show slightly different colorations. The Greek, all set, or Isis, so to speak, because they're going to make a point here. The Greek Isis, is different from the ancient Egyptian all set. We can discover these differences by comparing their names through numerology. And she go into numbers here, but I won't even go into these actual numbers because I don't know where she got her numbers from, but they don't line up with the numbers that are dealing with the Kemetic alphabet, but we'll go over that at another time. But she was speaking on the numbers that equate to Isis, and she said they equal up to 20, the goddess of divine partnership. The Greco-Roman world is primarily seen as a partner or even a savior of Osar and a mother of Heru. She becomes defined as the mother and wife, which is the nature of the number 2. In the ancient Egyptian world, she holds altogether different energy. Sometimes the Egyptians call her All-Set. Her name literally means the throne. So this is what the name All-Set means, upon which her child, the Pharaoh, sat. So 4 in numerology suggests a solid foundation, the building of a culture upon natural law and principles. So All-Set is the throne. You would often see the child enthroned upon the lap of their mother, suckling from her breast. The breast of one mother giving you suck. But we also understand that the king, is seated upon the throne. So there's a unity between the God-man and God-woman. He can't really rule without his goddess at his side. And his son can't be his successor if he don't have a God-woman to bring a successor into being. That's the law. That's a rudimentary principle. The Stoic Chiron principle in relation to dealing with the family structure. I talked about this last night when it talked about father, mother, and son being the triune of law. He ain't present if love ain't there. So All-Set is the goddess and not some whimsical feminine fatale. Sometimes her name was spelled All-Set. And then she give other numbers here. Then it states the number 3 suggests that this, because she equated that to going to 3, divine feminine is created matrix, implying the mother's womb. When I say spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah, justice, mercy, love, and right, these are mother's virtues. Justice, mercy, love, and right. That's a symbolic womb. When we say we rise upon the 7 within the circle, But Lady Isis, she is of 10,000 names and qualities. You know, in what it is, the Eastern Star, they talk about the fairest of 10,000, altogether lovely. You know, where you think they got that from? You know, and then they got all these fairs with Isis on them. And, you know, they talking about they the daughters of Isis. But it says her many epithets and names alone could be a study of the numerical meaning of her many names. You know, and then they go into other words to use numerology with the hieroglyphs. So we can see mathematical principles of how the Stoic Chion principle is being applied in many different ways. You know, other ways to use this numerology, it says one can use numbers that accompany the hieroglyph in this text in several ways. 7 layouts appear in the back of this book, and they are based on images from Egyptian hieroglyph and myth. Perhaps you wish to use a familiar Celtic cross read. In that case, you may read the meaning of each hieroglyph with regard to the position in which it falls, and the position are numbered 1 through 9. When a card falls in the 10th position, then read the meaning associated with the number 1, which is 10 equals 1 plus 0 equals 1. And because 0 is the reflection of God force energy, add an emphasis on the spiritual meaning of that position. Perhaps the best way to think of 0 numerologically is to see it as a lens that creates a focal point of God energy onto matter, like the center of a magnifying glass. In the astrological read, like the one that appears in the Dendra zodiac layout, likewise interpret the readings of houses according to the number, with houses 10, 11, 12 being reduced to 1, 2, and 3 respectively. You know, this is grand work, you know, that's put in here. But, you know, she went into also, you know, as mentioned above, I give a 1 draw card reading. I ask a person to provide me with their birth date. The month, the day added together will suggest the highest vibration of their birth path. This lifetime, knowing their birth path, will suggest to me which numbered interpretation of the hieroglyph may be appropriate to discuss. Or perhaps you wish to use numerology of your name, your personal year, to find what aspect of the hieroglyph resonates most closely with you. To determine the personal year, add birth path number to the number for the current year. For example, the year 2020 is a 4-year. You know, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0 equals 4. So you would add the number 4 to the birth path to find the personal year. A final caveat. It states, on occasion I have received disparaging comments about the Christian themes and tones that sometimes appear in my books. You will find a few of these Christian references here. In my opinion, truth is more than one thing. See the hieroglyph Ma'at, for instance. My inclusion of these themes and motifs is only objectionable, to those who do not understand that the Gentiles of the Christian scriptures appear as the early Christians because the belief systems of the Essenes and initiates are pagan, ancient Egyptian priests and science mathematicians, ETL, were co-opted. The Gnostic Gospels are in fact very Egyptian. That's some of that, you know, Hellenistic Jewish teaching I was talking about. And Eastern Orthodox Christian religion, especially the Coptic faith, has its root in ancient Egypt. That's that Greco-Roman version, you know, with an admixture of the Jewish version. It says, why does this seem foreign to people? My tour guide, a friend Nora, asked then, responded to her own question. The Jews and the ancient Egyptians lived side by side for aeons. Jesus and his family hid in Egypt when he was an infant. We got 18 missing years of what went on after that. It states he ate his first meal and drank his first water in Egypt. He took his first steps in Egypt. A few Jewish friends have questioned my use of Kabbalah with the Egyptian hieroglyphs, finding this upsetting because their people were enslaved by the Egyptians. Frankly, Moses learned a great deal from Egypt, and I suspect that as the purported author of Genesis, Exodus, and the Pentateuch, the Egyptian influence on him explains why Christian and Jewish creation stories are so similar to Egyptian creation stories. The many crossovers into Hebrew scriptures, as well as the Christian scriptures, verify that those religions learned a great deal of the mystery religion of their adopted homeland, and then took it on as their own after they left. The archaeology of Elephantine Island, where Jewish and Egyptian temples, two simpler deities, are found, is sufficient proof that there was such an overlap. I think that my citation of Egyptian, Christian, Jewish, Islamic, and even Hindu similarities to alphabets and meanings is completely justified. That said, it's up to you to find the appropriate ways to use these hieroglyphs. They are an open door to an ancient cosmology, and as such are replete with multiple meanings for you to interpret and benefit from as you will. And she closes there. You know, I wanted to touch on those measures because it lays a grand foundation, you know, based upon what, you know, she is presenting here, you know, in the form of the language and so forth and so on. You know, it don't get no plainer than the truth, Morris King. You know, I see the Romans completely took the Wi-Fi network up out of there. But they can't stop. You know what we put out, you know, because we still online. It don't even exist right now. It ain't even there. Let me try something real quick, Morris Kid. I'm just trying to see, you know, if the connection's still on my TV. Yeah, it's off the TV too, but that's all right. So what we have here in front of us, and I actually have the glyphs in front of us, you know, coming out of the other book, you know, the hieroglyphic, the Hermetic, you know, Hermetic magic measure that we was talking about. And so I won't even go into that right here. I'll save that for next week because we done really went over our time, you know, in state. And what I want to do at this particular point is allow my Moorish kin to give their measure to our family. And all is well. You know, praise be to Allah. Okay, now I see the signal has popped back up, so I'm gonna pop back on here. You know, and we'll listen to our family, and we can pick up actually in our next phase. You know, because the other information I get into the gematria as well, and what I do, I send out to the scribes. You know, in the email what I was going to go over. Just 1 second.
He's on my phone. That's why I'm not speaking. You know, thank you for bearing with us.
Islam, did he go out again?
Dr. Shaheed.
What's going on? There we go.
There we
I'm
go.
over here talking. Okay, and then I hadn't added myself to the stage. Sorry about that, Morris. But yeah, what we gonna do? I'll send the rest of that information to our Moorish kin. The slides that I was getting ready to present. You know, I will do this briefly. You know, because this ain't got nothing to really do with read. You know, I'm gonna show this to our family, and then we'll close this demonstration out after our scribes get a measure. You know, y'all can see that, right? Scribes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So what I was showing our family is that, you know, we have a chart that we created on our own, but in this book, you know, dealing with the Hermetic magic, The other book we was coming from was Hieroglyphic Words of Power by Norman E. Ellis. We said that in the beginning of the video as well. So you can go back and you'll see the sources. But this one is the Hermetic Magic book. But in this book, they tracing the history back, and they give you all the history, and show you basically everything came out of Kemet, though many other coaches claimed it to be theirs. And they actually have their chart where they tried to, as they always do, put hieratic next to, the pictures, and reverse engineer. That's just the way that they do things, because they adhering to what the average Egyptologist does, but we know better. But when we go into these particular symbols of the demotic and the hieratic, there's an actual numerical value. They don't really have it here. They have numbers on the side showing how many alphabets they are, but that's not the numerical value. We actually have the phonetic, numerical value, so that's a whole nother measure. They also had in this book a comparison between some of the Hebrew letters and some of the Egyptian drawing, where they have like Yod as it represents the hand in Hebrew, and they show the equivalent over here as being an Egyptian letter. This is their correspondence that they are putting together, with the Hebrew. Then they had the water symbol, and then they say, well, this water is here. Then you have a water symbol in the Hebrew. You have a mouth symbol. Then Pei represents the mouth symbol in Hebrew. You have the courtyard in Egypt. Then this letter, represents the fence in Hebrew. It's not the same as these, but they are just showing, these measures that have been created. The club, as they call it. I've seen this actually being called something else, like the intestines, of an animal in certain cases. But anyway, nevertheless, they said this represents the sword. So they're trying to equate similarities between a club being a weapon, a sword being a weapon. The door bolt. Then they have the door leaf, dalith. Then they had the tether rope for the legs of animals. Then here they have a rope, gamel, which is a rope in general in Hebrew. They have the hand. Then they had the palm of the hand over here, but it's not the same as these letters, so don't get it twisted. They just showing that these names that they have come up with, like this is jet. Then they have a letter for, Nakash, which is serpent, snake, serpent. And so they showed certain things that were made as a comparison there. Then they had, in the area of magical writing system, they brought up the Coptic and the Nubian. I told y'all that Coptic and Nubian is basically the same thing. And the so-called Greek came up out of this. See what I'm saying? Look at the letters of the Coptic and the Nubian. It's just really a different stage of writing. And then right here, the Xi letter, you don't really see it, but a couple of more letters are missing. But all in all, what is called Coptic and Nubian, and what they later try to call Greek by minimizing the letters, making them around 26 and all that, they are 24 or whatever they do. In the Coptic, you see it's 30 letters. So you see the numerical value though beside them. That is something that you see. You see it on the side here. And so this is what you work your gematria with. The numerical value that's on the side. And you go by letter without the vowels. They also have what they are calling the Semitic alphabet. We know this is Proto-Sinaitic, Proto-Canaanite, but they compared this to Cretan form, which is more like a westernized expression language. Actually, this is close to what we call, our language that we created from the ancient Egyptian, Iberic Egyptian. That's what the Cretan language looked like. But you can see the similarities of it to the Semitic form, what they call in the Old Semitic, Proto-Sinaitic, Proto-Canaanite is what it is. And then these Hebrew letters come after that. This is also close to what we call Phoenician. you know, and we know that hieratic gave birth to the Phoenician. You know, that's a whole nother measure. So then they have their different phonetic value. They have the same names on the side that they were referring to in the other drawing that I was pointing out. You know, this was the other portion that I wanted to go into, you know, to of the Stoicheia, but I'll kind of briefly roll over it and go deeper into it on my next presentation. I ain't gonna go all the way into it because I know we're gonna have some hiccups along the way, and we want to open up so we can close this demonstration out. But we'll touch on basic aspects that the Greek called these letters, you know, Stoicheia, you know, elements which are suggestive in the way in which they were thought to describe the building blocks of the cosmos. We went over all that, so y'all already know, even dealing with what they call astral beings. You know, these letters are referred to as being beings. I remember reading where it says the Grand Quran is an actual living, you know, creation. You know, all the letters of the Quran represent living entities. I remember the Sufi adept saying that. So when you get into the lofty teachings, that's where you find all of this stuff, and you learn why words are power based on mathematics. It's a reason why you have those trying to hinder you, because they don't want you to know this knowledge, to learn that you can speak your success and your freedom, you know, and everything else in the being. This is why they tried to hide these things. This is why they took away the books. This is why they destroyed the libraries, but they can't destroy the library archives above your neck. So again, these are building blocks of the cosmos, cosmic principles, you know, and it says, as well as an act of modification or alteration of the order of the world through Magia. The world is said to consist of 24 essential elements, a Stoicheia, the Stoicheion, right? Each of which finds manifestation in the 24 letters of the alphabet is bequeathed to humankind by Hermes. That's the Greek name for Tehuti, thought. The science of these elements can be classified according to 4 levels of knowledge. The magician, it states, might have concerned them. They are expressed in shapes, as shapes and sounds, meanings, and numbers. There it is, cymatic frequency, sacred geometry. It says Hermetic magicians will first seek to discover the meanings hidden within each of the elements, and then experimentally implement those elements to modify or influence the subjective or objective universes in a meaningful way. Magic is communication. They're talking about Hecker family. We communicate along natural channels using natural physical manifestations of Stoicheia. It says, by the same token, we may communicate in a non-natural or psychic way the non-natural aspects of those same Stoicheia or Stoicheia. It states there are both natural and non-natural aspects to 4 levels of meaning of the Stoicheia process. And then it goes into the esoteric studies of the letters, which you already went over in the concept of Kabbalah. But this is just the other book. 2 different sources, but both of them really saying the same thing. They just go into the Stoicheia. You know, they talk about the esoteric meaning of numbers. They say if we have the numbers on something, we can create and recreate it in the physical world. We ourselves can cause that thing to manifest or remanifest or even dismanifest. If this is true in the world of 5 senses, 3 dimensions, how much more true is it in the more subtle realms? You know, I'm just touching on this stuff right here. You know, they even say Stoicheia spermatic in the seed elements. You know, realization of the seed elements come through experience of the totality of the Stoic part self, Stoicheia. You know, man, this thing is powerful. You know, this is powerful. You know, it goes into gematria and so forth and so on. Many different aspects of it, the theory of gematria anyway. Keep going to the other pictures. I'm not trying to get into that right now. Let's see if it do it this way. Okay, yeah. So, you know, they go into the premise of the esoteric study of letters. You know, they also dealing with recognizing these as formulas. And I told our people that these glyphs represent formulas. These are words. You know, they went into, if the cosmos was created by means of the word and idea, come into Egyptian, Judaic, and Indo-European tradition, they also use that term when they refer to the Assyrians. The letters of the words are indeed the elements of the cosmic ordering. By consciously absorbing the patterns inherent in the system of letter elements, the magician will have the divine metagramma to be able to create efforts in objective and subjective universes just as gods do. Knowledge of esoteric lore and alphabet allows the magician to understand the workings of other magicians, as well as provides a blueprint for effective magical operations, a total map of the 4 aspects of the stoic Kaya. So yeah, Nimba and is the overall and highest aspects because it is nearest to the deity in its abstract quality. Nimba comes the closest to describing the element in its purest form. This thing is powerful. Knowledge of the numerical science of arithmosophy, that's another measure. Study that, look that up. It's primary because the ancient Hermetics with the Pythagoreans thought of Nimba as the root, and basically it goes into the science of this. These are pictures from the words, hieroglyphic words of power, and this is a symbol of the duat. But if you go into the actual word duat and do the gematria, you'll find deeper meaning behind it. Rather than looking at these as letters and alphabet, we know these are not letters or alphabets. Rect, it's the same thing. If you do the gematria on the word rect, you will find certain measures. This is self-explanatory. This is who. You often hear me speaking of who he is being the name, that corresponds with Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahweh. But who actually represents the holy breath. So when it say the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, if we were looking at this from an area view, that's a spiraling motion. That represents the grid that moves around us. So when you speak something into existence, it's through that grid that your words rise into the heavens and they don't come back to you void if you have the right intent behind them. This is what makes Heka powerful. It's the holy breath. We are told in our Moorish Holy Quran. We enter and we exit life on a breath. Breath is a powerful spiritual tool. God's breath inspired us in the being as Atum or Ta exhaled. So when Allah breathed forth, the 7 Elohims come forth, is what our Moorish Holy Quran tell us. Again, when the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters in the book of Genesis, we were present. You see, that's that spiraling motion. That's that glyph right there. Who? Again, we have the star again, but it's above a gateway. Arits are seen in this way, but this is dealing with Seba. Seba deals with teaching, instruction. It's the same star that was in the circle, but this is a different expression of it. One is the Amduat. The Amduat, is what the Seba, receives teaching and instruction from, and vice versa. This is a symbol of Ta, which represents the land, Ta. This is why we say Ta, Mary. You will see this symbol here. You see it here as the 4 quadratic circle with the 360 degrees, 90 degrees between each quadrant. You can see that here. So that's a powerful symbol, and that has deep meaning behind it. That represents standing in the center and going to the 4 corners of the earth. And a lot of people call this now the Coptic cross, which a lot of the clan and everybody else tried to have their way with this. But that symbol came from my ancestor. You have also a symbol here above the star, which is known as the Soptic, which is sometimes equated with the 7. But if you look here, you can see that the hand itself is offering elements. They would say, okay, this is Soptic being spelt out. Yeah, when you reverse engineer it and go into hieratic, but when we look at these actual symbols here, they would call that a folded cloth, but then when you look at it, you can see the triangle and you can see the 4. So we can see in that, the triangle in all actuality represents the mental, physical, and the spiritual, and the basis of the elemental aspect represents the square. So really we can see a hand that is offering, from the Seba, which is the star, through instruction, an unfoldment, since we want to call this a folding cloth, of one understanding when it comes to divinity and matter. That's how we can interpret that metaphorically. So yeah, they was even talking about, the aspects of, this was the other portion on the Stoica, going back to the Hermetic book, and they brought out these different formulas here, and how you add this up. And when you add a lot of this up, you come up with different outcomes as a result of the formulas. Like I say, I'm gonna go over this deeper in my next session, because we close it out. We also have, the breakdown on the gematria here, dealing with the monad, just as we was talking about in the other book of the sister. Hold up. The one represents the monad. And this is actually dealing with arithmosophy, Hermetic numerology. This is coming through the way the Greeks tried to come up with their own little makeup, but the monad dealing with the God and all that, the other two, we still dealing with it, 3, 4, 5. They just really count up just like the sister did in her measure, and they given a more concise, to the point definition of all of these numbers. So this exists in all cultures, family. She gave you the Kemetic expression. They giving you the Greek expression here. But this science, and they go all the way up to 10. That's the 10 now. And this is still dealing with the Stoica, or the Stoichion, gematria. So it goes into it. It gives you the history, family, and show you where this stuff come from. That's my end of my presentation. I'm not, like I say, going all the way into that stuff. I'm opening up the floor now to our scribes. It's been a long time coming, family. They tried to put a monkey wrench in this one. Come on, 4th Grand National Secretary of the State, Sister Shep Super Ma'at Amputu to come and bay. Talk your talk, speak your speech, like the brother Umar Johnson would say.
Can you hear me more, Shin?
Yeah, we hear you, Grand Secretary of the State.
Praise
I'm
the
so
Lord.
elated over here.
I tell you, it's been an adventure, and Allah is due to praise. We definitely want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, last prophet in these days and times. We want to give a special honor to our family online, to our ears class, and also to you, our scribes, and also to you, Dr. Shahi, for hosting our ears class. This has been a powerful measure, definitely many keys brought forth. It definitely is taking one to a higher degree and level, and a lot of research when it comes down to self-study, and these degrees are necessary. But I tell you, just in looking at when we first dealt with gematria and dealing with the elements in chemistry, and recognizing the fact that all of this came out of Kemet, this is definitely a higher level. That the first thing that came to mind when you were bringing forth this master word of Sto, Eon, dealing with that Greek demonstration and how it crosses different nations, recognizing the fact that the people lived within different nations this particular point in time, and then when they left out of that a special nation, they took the teachings or the knowledge with them, and say, well, hey, this is what I brought forth. We can see that in the Jewish aspect. We can also see that in the Greco-Roman aspect, especially when it comes down to Pythagoras, because when I was in school, that's all we heard of was what Greek and Roman produced, like the Pythagorean Pythagoras theorem, in reference to numbers and things of that nature, or geometry or what have you, not having a clue that all of this came out of Kemet. So this is very powerful, and it also reflects when it was dealing with Heka even though they wanted to use the term of magic, recognizing words of power when the prophet spoke about thought is the cause of it all, and then be able to use the various, because this covers so many sciences. When the prophet speaks about what is the science of the Moors, it is a power that exerts itself for the individual at the will of its user. So in putting these two aspects together, recognize the thing that you have the thought, and then when you speak it, and what was key is that you have to have the right intent, because we don't want to be speaking demonstrations and bringing it into existence, recreating it, taking it back out, because we know all of this is energy, with the wrong intent, because it invariably will come back to harm self. So when we are keeping it above the neck, our God powers, and speaking things into existence for the right reasons, that in essence is an aspect of our God powers. And the thing that we see, the source materials, we see where it's coming from, how it is used, but not a word is lost. So when we now look at and going back into the records in reference to how Yehoshua was instructed to find oneself, we have the same instruction. The prophet lets us know to study self. In essence, find yourself. How are you made? Fearfully or beautifully and wonderfully, or what have you. The thing about it is, we have the tools, and the prophet said he brought us everything that we need. We've got to learn how to use this in a proper manner to bring forth what it is that we need, not only for our people, but also an uplifting of fallen humanity. So this is very, very powerful, because it has nothing to do with a religious demonstration per se. It's dealing with geometry, algebra, astrology, astronomy. And now when you are able to hook up the numbers with the glyphs, which is dealing with people, places, and things, and look at it from now we have a paradigm shift, then this is indeed powerful. So this is a great class. Definitely got to go and do more research and more in-depth study. But in essence, we see now an even greater degree of being the message that we bring. So gratitude more for calling me forth. Much peace and love to all of my Moorish kin. Islam.
And praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. Well, we give honors to you, Grand Secretary of State, for that grand drawing. And if we really pay attention, the prophet put these keys right there in our circle 7. In our chapter, it talks about the tree of life. In the present chapter, like I said, it talked about the pictures being used as, different rites and so forth and so on. We talk about even the numbers when we get into, our chapter that tells us about, us being thoughts of the great God Allah made manifest. The apostolates speak of this, being one great thought and being the many. All of that deal with the numerical aspect, and a lot of the Assyrian teachings was, from the Zohar, the book of light, Zoroaster, so to speak. Some of those teachings are in our Moorish Holy Quran. I mean, the basis of those teachings, the root of the teaching of the chakra, when we talk about the 7 candlesticks that go from the head to the foot, that's all dealing with chakra teachings, Kabbalah, those principles are right there in the Moorish Holy Quran, whether we know it or not. And I can point them out chapter by chapter. We're going to do that one time in the future. So a lot of this we are unpacking now, so that our people can have a grand understanding. Just like our scribes was able in our last session to take the metal netter and pretty much bring forth a grand expression just by the ayats that we have sent out to our people. You know, and we're gonna have our family come forth and show us some of this geometry, because once you learn the geometry behind it, now you can utilize it. They even tell you in this, do not confuse this with magic. They let you know exactly what magic is, what Goetia is, and also what they call theurgy. Theurgy is the purest form of the magic, and that's called assuming the God form. That's what we want to do. We want to stay away from the Goetia, you know, and westernized magic, you know, and they warn you of that in both of these books, you know, and they tell you that anytime you do something with intent of harming somebody, or trying to control the will, trying to alter certain things in the universe, it's gonna always come back as karma on you. So we're giving you this knowledge with warning. You know, nothing wrong with it being experimental. And they tell you, you know, this is not limited to a certain methodology. It's really on the individual. Because some of us naturally have the ability, you know, to speak things into the manifest, and they manifest as we do. You know, and some of us are meant to be the hierophant, you know, that actually master that knowledge and teach our people. Only difference is we ain't hiding it. It's the same type of stuff they be trying to hide in their so-called adept chambers and Masonic lodges. They don't want you to know. We teaching it to you. We ain't charging you no fee for this. The stuff that I'm saying right now, you got scholars talk on this in university, and they get millions for it. We giving it to our people for free. And some of them don't even know what we giving them when it comes to this information. This is what they were trying to hide from you. Champollion ain't got nothing on this. Now what you think about these symbols compared to one letter that they done tried to make it be? Compare that to all this wisdom that you have to unpack just symbol by symbol. The Umduat alone, when I showed you the star within the circle, you know how much wisdom is looking at the Umduat? The Umduat is the astrological, astronomical knowledge, the gematria, as they call it, Kemetria, that relates to the cosmos, the Stoicheion, a Stoicheia, dealing with the elements, the rudimentary elements behind all of creation, astral beings. In other words, your ancestors in action. You can call them into the manifest. The Quran said, our most holy Quran said, when you gone, the power gone. When you demonstrate the presence of the power is present. But anyway, let us call for, man, we give honor to our Grand Secretary of the State. She done fired me up. Let me call forth my other scribe so we can get this demonstration closed. All right, Sister Curta Bay, I know you fired up, so we're going to call you first. We ain't going to even say it. Come on over here. Islam.
Islam.
I know you knew it was popping over there.
Gratitude. I tell you, girl, that's the sister. She got us all fired up. I tell you, this. I don't even know where to start. This has been so powerful, and I can see why Rome don't want this information to get out. If I was in their shoes, I wouldn't want to get out either, you know. But you can't stop us, and I'm just sitting here in awe, and even with our title that you got going across the screen, Dr. Shaheed, it said, what does it mean that thoughts are things, and then thoughts are the DNA of the universe, containing the code that gives form to our physical life experiences. I mean, I'm just, my little mind is just going and just going. And this was so powerful what you have given us this morning. And the main thing that I wanted to reiterate is that, like you say, our people, what is going by Champollion, I mean, if you can't see by now that we have given you the truth, that Champollion's little stuff he got out there is not what our ancient ancestors taught. If you don't know by now, I don't know what else can convince you. All I can say is, just go. If you want to be ignorant, just stay ignorant still. We then did all we know to do. We then showed you, and even with the word, I like that word. And I'm gonna go back and do some research on where you looked it up in our Strong's dictionary. That stoichion.
Stoichion.
Yes,
Stoichion.
stoichion, and how that word it was just a basic word, but how it's the an elementary rule, and how it basically starts from the beginning, and that lets me know, who was in the beginning. We were the one who gave everything to the world, so we know that was us. And not only that, when I think about Dr. Shaheed, when talking about this magic, well, they call it magic or whatever, but we know it's not magic. And when I really think about it, you know what it brings me back to? It brings me right back to, and I kept saying, when our chairman say, "Who made you?" And I kept saying, I know it's something more in that, because I can hear it, I can feel it, but I couldn't put my hands on it. Now I can put my hands on it, because this what you give us today, showing us about the reading in the book, the healing, and putting these numbers together, and all of this is letting me know that who made me is the great God Allah, and we still are just scratching the surface of what he got for us. But and let me calm down. But we are gods and goddesses, and this should be natural for us. This shouldn't be strange, but it's strange because it was taken from us. It was beaten out of us, and all of that was taken from us. And it also reminds me of how we say mastering the mastering of Allah's nature in us. When we start doing this and we get into these teachings, what you have put out here today, we are mastering Allah's nature, his nature that's in us. And we are going forth, and we are unfolding into the gods and goddesses that we are supposed to be here in this earth. And like you were saying about the Hereford, I know the Hereford is in us, but we are the Hereford going forth to teach our people to break the chains of bondage off their minds and give them the truth. All we can do is give it to them. What they do with it after that is left up to them. But once we all we can do is just give it to them, and be this message that we bring. I tell you, God, man, this is, oh wow. I don't want to keep stammering. So, but one quick question: that Hermetic book, I don't think I got that. Do I need that? What and who was the author? So if I need that to be in my library too, because I don't think I got that one. The Hermetic book.
Stephen Aaron Flowers. Stephen Aaron Flowers. If you put the chapter in there, Hermetic Magic, it'll come up. Same one that we have on the page.
Okay, put in there Hermetic Magic.
Yeah, and it'll come up, and it's gonna give you the history, behind all that stuff. The Aberrus papyri and all that, the magical papyri that we actually have went over. And some of our hieratic and demotic measures. But they go into the history. They even go into showing you the difference between demotic, hieratic, and all that there. So I'm always theory. If you pull it up, it's only one book. That's written, so you'll see it. It looked like a papyri book.
Okay.
Again, Stephen Edric Flowers, PD, PhD.
Okay, Stephen.
You're gonna see a boat, a rod with a sun disk on it, and two pillars on the front. Right.
Okay, I think I did see it.
So You know, and the thing is, the reason why Rome is trying to keep this information from being out there, Morris King, because they know this the only thing that they can control.
Right.
And if we start thinking like this and speaking things into existence and
Islam.
altering our reality for the good, they know they can't do nothing about that. And you know, last time our people had this knowledge, you know, they said they were trying to put voodoo on them. You know, the slave master. So they definitely don't want you, you know, working in the realm. That's what they call it, hoodoo, voodoo, and all that other stuff. But we don't demonstrate, you know, in that science in the way that they talk about it. We call what we demonstrate Heka, you know, and we demonstrate good. We don't demonstrate evil and trying to control nobody will.
That's
You
right.
know, we demonstrate theurgy, assume the
Mm-hmm.
God form and bring what you will into the manifest for
Yeah,
the
because we
good of your people, for the good of yourself. Islam.
Islam. I see it, God, man. I see that book, but it looked like it ain't gonna get to me until Friday. I hope I ain't got to have it for no homework. But I see
No,
it.
I'm gonna send the stuff that I got in here to you for you to go over the stuff that I
Oh,
wasn't able to go over.
okay, okay.
That'll be
Gratitude.
sufficient enough for now. But
Okay, gratitude.
that's really the meat, so to speak, of the measure anyway.
Okay,
Rather,
gratitude.
the rest of the information is just historicity, you know, showing you how, you know, the Greco-Romans and the Assyrians, and it actually has a tradition that come through all of it. Iran, Greece, they got a whole breakdown on all of that stuff in there.
Okay.
They break the 4 quadrants down in there. You know, a whole lot of information. But you'll see it when you get it.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, so Islamism without the schism. In fact, what I do, I show the picture of it again to the people that's in the audience that
Yeah,
hadn't seen. You
right.
know, let me see here. I got to pull the picture up first. Um, let's see here. Well, actually, I had it pulled up in my. There you go, right there. Yeah. So I got it in the email. I had to pull all this stuff out of my email. So let me share the entire screen this time. And it
Yeah,
should share
absolutely.
my email.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I actually bought it out of the store.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's a store here where I went into, like, you know, the store where they sell the herbs and all that stuff there. But
Okay.
this is the book right here.
Yeah, Islam. That's it.
Postmodern magic, and they tell you the source material. That's the thing too. They talk about, you know, having the actual source material and where this stuff first surfaced at and how it came about, and they tell you it all come about a Kemetic. You know, this is the other book, which you know you got this, the Hieroglyphic Words of Power by Norman and Ellis.
Yeah, we got that one.
Yeah, it's some more books in there they have, you know, on this level. I just brought these two at the time,
Okay.
you know, and when I get the others, I'll let you know what they are.
Okay.
They got a grand book on breaking down the tree of life from a Kemetic standpoint.
Oh,
You know, and
oh,
mashallah, once I get it, you know, we'll bring it to the people. You
Islam.
know, but like I say, we just want to show our people out there that what we talking about, we ain't just making this stuff up. You know, so that being said, even when we go here for a second, before we go, our brother Marvin Evers Bay, I'm gonna show you something real quick. And we put this out here. I'm telling you, we done did this already. We done did this before I even got these books. That's the crazy thing. Before I ever picked up these books, you know, probably a year prior to, and 2 years actually, before I even picked up these books, family. I'm gonna show you real quick. I don't go to popping up there. We ain't trying to talk. Okay. So we had put this together. Let's see. Watch this. Y'all remember this? And a lot of this should be right at the top because I ain't really did too much posting outside of this here. Oh, they done tried to show it. Well, I ain't even got all my stuff up here. Okay, we got a trick for that. I know how to get past that. We just hit one picture and then go into it this way. Then got to kind of go through some of my old pictures here in order to get to what I'm really trying to get to. But that's all right too. It'll come up in a second here. But they didn't want to lay all my stuff out here. Give me a second. There we go, right there. See, we demonstrated, the geometry when we come up with our anaglyphic formulas, so to speak, and see word by word, and then through the numbers of the gematria, what they came out to be. We demonstrated that, family. And then we have another one too. Hold up, give me 1 second here, and it should be close to that one. We done put so much information out here and gave to our people the truth. They should be full of divine. There you go, right there. Right there. That's dealing with the God code. That's another one with the anaglyphic formulas that we created. With the proper intent, these formulas, you can call a lot of things in creation into the manifest. Remember we was talking about who, he, and the who? All that there, the he, who, Yahuwah, how this correspond with the elements, God eternal within the body. Yeah, all that's in there. We did this before we came into the knowledge of that book. So, let me stop sharing this now. Y'all get it. At least you should. We go way deeper than Champollion when it comes to these symbols. Praise be to Allah and the ancestors and the prophet for allowing us to be able to open this book of creation for you. This thing is deeper than a letter. We talking about words of power, clarity, and authority. So at this time, let us call forth our beloved brother Marvin Nathaniel Elvis Bey. Islam, you there, grand man? I believe our brother M.E. Beta fell asleep over there. You ain't fell asleep behind the wheel, have you, brother? All is well. We know the brother about our father's business if he can't get in here. Yesterday, when we hung up, he said he was trying to get in there when I was trying to. I'm telling you, brother, I'm pausing right now to let you in if you're there. All right. Well, we see our brother ain't there. But we're gonna go ahead and bring this thing to a grand closure then, I guess. Sister Curta Bay, you there?
Islam.
Wait a minute. Before we go, I know our chairman may be about our father's business, but is our chairman on the manifest? I know he can tell us about who made us before we go. Our Grand Secretary of State, before we close out. Okay. Well, our Grand Secretary of State might be over there, demonstrating something on the home front. So yeah, we'll go ahead and close.
He's not available at this time. More gratitude.
Okay, gratitude with a divine attitude. Islamism. Well, we'll come to a closure, more. It's been a long time coming. Sister Curta Bay, you got it.
Islam. Islam. Gratitude. Islam, family, January 15, 1929, a warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the government, the prophet, violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and buttons, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. By the order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. A holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother has given you son. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all, and your love to each other. Islam, Islam, Islam. This meeting has been officially adjourned according to Act 2, the Circle 7, in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Go in peace, Moors. Great class. Woo! Islam.
Islamism without the schism. In Rome, we give you our purest love. But Babylon must fall. Babylon must fall.
Babylon is falling.
I didn't say that. The power that is beyond the powers that be said that.
That's right.
Great class.
We in that
Gratitude.
time.
They say it in their concert records too.
Yeah, it's wrote in the book that you remix. I didn't say it. You said it.
You said it. You the one prophesied your own news.
Islamism without the schism. You know what I mean? Even if I drop this garb, you still can't kill this truth.
That's right. That's right.
And we don't feel going to the other side because we know you got to cross over too. But you ain't going where I'm going. I'm going to Arquette. You know, you like the Hellenistic stuff. You know, man, it's a grand draw at Moorish Ken.
Is love, family.
Just say gratitude with a divine attitude, and we'll have the assignment out, sooner than later. We're gonna continue to move on, and y'all be sure to share this video. Look at what we had to come through to give it to you. It don't get no plainer than this. This should put all the other stuff to bed. So honest to who it is in here. They was engaging in here. Tyrese Bay.
Yes, they were.
Gina Renee. My Auntie Bay. Y'all was participating. Born Dog. Sunshine Air. We apologize for the technical difficulty, but y'all hung in there. Marvin Edwards Bay. We give honors to your grand man. Who it is? Noble Brian. Goodness gracious. Noble Brian all the time. Well, all right.
You said we gonna have an assignment. What we gonna have to do?
Oh, we'll get into the geometry of it, like we have before, and some more measures. We'll go into detail. And I'm gonna send you, like I said, the other information that I wasn't able to really cover.
Okay. And
we'll go from there. It ain't nothing you ain't familiar with. In fact, you just more refined now. Bringing forth 7 times more power. Islam.
Gratitude. We be waiting.
Small thing to a Moorish giant. Yeah, small thing to the Moorish Nephilim.
Yeah, we'll be waiting.
Yeah, we got it.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Yeah, peace and love. We love you, Moors.
Islam.
See y'all tonight in Sunday school.
Islam.
Islam.
Islamism.